Welcome to GamedayU from Ames, Iowa.
Oh,
we made it.
We got here.
Yes.
How about that?
First road trip.
Ooh.
We drove through the wee hours of the night.
was tough.
But we have arrived to
tough.
Jack Trice Stadium.
was a
Beautiful
little
stadium back behind us. Nice little backdrop here.
Gorgeous.
No Joe. Feels kind of wrong. No Joe Quentin this week, but he'll be back next week for
We miss
Army.
you, buddy.
I don't know what to do with my
Miss
hands,
you.
I know.
but he's gone. But we move on. We keep rolling.
We keep
It'll
forward.
be okay. It'll be okay.
Well, yeah, isn't this awesome, guys? We're here, Jack Trice. We got a couple of fun facts I think we want to share with the fans.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Number one, Jack Trice, if you don't know, this stadium is named after the first African-American Iowa State football player that they ever had.
It's pretty cool.
That is
Pretty
cool.
awesome,
That's
right?
really cool.
Awesome.
Pretty great dedication. Number two, this here Jack Trice Stadium, third largest stadium in the Big 12.
Yeah, you wouldn't
See, that's
think
a
that.
surprising one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
wouldn't
didn't
expect
expect that
it.
when you told me that.
But it is at 61,000 or so capacity, of course, behind Texas and Oklahoma. We're there a couple of times, and I would say that it's a big stadium.
Yeah, it's
But this is
pretty large.
third largest.
Bigger than this.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not bad.
it's actually pretty
You wouldn't
expansive.
think it's 61,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice stadium. You know, got a half bowl.
Yeah.
Pretty nice jumbotron back there too.
Yes.
It's a pretty nice stadium. Looking forward to seeing it all
Overhead.
hyped up here in a little bit for the game.
But the big thing we have to knock out, Mr. Josh Calloway, is the fun fact that was given to us by our fearless leader and very coveted faculty member, Mr. Ken Fisher. Josh, take away.
Yeah, Ken, I'm talking right at Ken right now. Ken, I hope you're watching. You better be.
I can.
We'd be
for
remiss
you.
if we did not bring up the fun fact that is that this university, this fine institution, Iowa State, their head football coach in the late 1890s was Pop Warner,
Uh-oh.
who also coached a young Jim Thorpe,
Whoa.
arguably the greatest athlete of all time, and of course, very well known in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
'Cause that's where he's from.
Comes
so yeah.
full circle. Another fun fact for you. My first football game of my life was actually here.
Wow.
1998. I was a year old. I do not remember, but my parents do.
That is a really random place for your
Congratulations.
first game.
It is. I actually didn't know that until today.
Do you have any fun facts for us, Sam?
Fun fact. I've never been here before.
That's the scorchingest fact ever.
We were on the up, but hey, if I were to label these facts, I would label them fun. That was a great
really
open to
fun.
the start of the show.
Absolutely.
But let's get some football, right?
Absolutely. So week 3, 2 great wins for you to start. They crushed Florida Atlantic, crushed UCLA. It was kind of an ugly UCLA game, but they got through. They won big. But you know, nobody's talking about that. They're talking about the fact that the Heisman hopeful running back Rodney Anderson down for the season. We thought it might be. We talked about it in our post-game wrap that we looked bad. We thought it might be a season ender, but we didn't want to assume anything. But it is. He's out for the season. Where do you go from here for OU, guys? We'll start with Sam.
First of all, credit to Ronnie Anderson, man. That's another tough blow. His
Third time.
Third season-ending
That's
injury.
tough.
He's a tough kid, and you gotta hope he bounces back, and I honestly think he will.
Yeah.
But the obvious thing is these running backs need to step up. The leading rusher
Yeah.
now is Kyler Murray at quarterback, and he's not going to be able to create
that's
everything.
hilarious,
He's not going to
actually.
be able to create everything for the offense. Trey Sermon needs to step up, and we need to see the Trey Sermon from last year. This year, I've been seeing a lot of jump cuts to the outside, kind of trying to get outside. That's not who Trey Sermon is. That's who Rodney Anderson is. You know?
Yeah.
And Rodney Anderson is going to be a big loss, and you can't really pick up all that production because this roster has running backs like Sermon who are physical, and they have running backs like Sutton, Pledger who are explosive. But Rodney Anderson's a great combination of both, so it's going to be tough to replicate what he's done so
Absolutely.
far.
Can't say enough how important he is to this offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, I mean, we talked about it in the press box. The game just felt weird last Saturday.
Yeah.
As big of a win as it was over, a prestigious UCLA team, it just had a somber feel to it with Rodney Anderson going down. And I think we all expected the worst. We saw him on the sideline with that huge brace on his leg.
Yeah.
But I was honestly surprised on Monday when we talked to players and Coach Riley how confident they were that he, one, was going to be okay. Like his attitude wasn't going to be too hurt by this, just because he's, like you said, Josh, he's gone through this 2 other times in his college career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if you look at him, Lincoln Riley said he will be back. He will be back to playing football, whether that is at OU or potentially, if he declares for the NFL draft.
Yeah. Something that was
We'll
very
just have to
interesting, not to cut you off there, my bad. Something that was very interesting that we didn't know is that on Monday, Ben Powers told us that the team knew he tore his ACL. We don't know if it's torn ACL, knee injury. We're assuming ACL, knee injury. They knew immediately. Yeah, they had played the whole second half knowing that he was done, which was kind of interesting. So they played that second half for Rodney. They knew what was
that was
happening.
surprising to me,
And it's
too.
the rest of the season's for Rodney now. You
Yeah,
can see all the
so-
players on
Right.
social media are saying this season's for him.
I mean, he's the leader of the team. He's a captain. You could argue he is literally the leader of the team.
It's a difficult all-around situation. Let's go through the list, shall we? Okay. Knee injury, right?
Yeah.
Neck injury.
Neck is that's
a
not
tough
one you want to
one.
mess
Like
with.
that,
yeah.
that one, that doesn't sound fun at all.
As a running back, yeah.
And the third one, I mean, oh my goodness, back?
Yeah.
This guy's banged up right now, and I think he's going to not only have to make a decision about his current career, I think he has to make a decision on his future moving forward. 3 season-ending injuries. I don't know where you go from here. I mean, Rodney Anderson is a phenomenal football player, don't get me wrong, but at some point you have to start valuing personal health. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Rodney Anderson at this current state is able to walk at age 60, props to him, because he is in a tough spot right now moving forward. I don't know what's going to happen to Rodney Anderson right now. I do know one thing for sure. Someone has to step up, and I agree with Sam. I think it's Trey Sermon. I think he's the next guy in line. And you point out a great point. He has to become that downhill runner that he truly is. He can't try and replicate what Rodney Anderson brings to the table. Be yourself. Bring what you have to the table and go out there and execute.
Yeah, see, so something that I wonder, I feel like we all pretty much agree that Trey Sermon probably is the guy who needs to step up and be the number 1 option now. But who replaces Trey Sermon as the number 2 option? Is it Pledger, Sutton, Kennedy Brooks? Who's the guy who needs to become the 2nd option?
I think it's got to be Marcellus Sutton.
It's Sutton.
The senior, he's put on a lot of work on the offseason. You ask anybody on that football team, they say he's been grinding since the season ended last year. He looks bigger. He looks tougher. You see him bouncing off of tackles. He's a small guy. He's not a huge guy, and he's just bouncing off tackles and breaking away. He needs to be the guy that step up and kind of be a receiving back now, because Rodney Anderson was the guy that was getting all those targets kind of out of the backfield.
I don't know. I think that Sutton brings something that's unique in a sense that he's explosive. Okay. Now, what I've said for a little while now is that Rodney Anderson was a combination of what you're going to see in all 3 or 4 of these running backs.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because the one thing that I really think will be missed in Rodney Anderson's absence is his presence as a pass catcher out of the backfield. He was very, very good out of the backfield in the passing game. And you don't just throw someone in there and make it happen immediately. Who's going to be the guy out of the backfield to catch footballs? Sutton brings that explosiveness that could be an advantage in the passing game. However, is he very comfortable going out there in the flats and having a ball coming at him right out of the hot hand of Kyler Murray? I don't know. We'll have to find out very quickly, because this Sooner team has a lot on their shoulders right now, replacing such a quality player in Rodney Anderson.
As good as Sutton is, I mean, he definitely will be the 2nd option, I think, at running back.
I agree.
But we can't forget about TJ Pledger.
I was going to ask, anybody going to give Pledger some love or not?
Averaged over 6 yards per carry. And I mean, guys, we can't forget about, obviously, like Sam said, leading rusher so far is Kyler Murray. Guy can run. On Monday, he said that he will run however much the team needs him to run. He doesn't have a set, he had 10 carries on Saturday, but that's not a set number in his mind. He doesn't have a set, I'll run 10 times. I won't run more than 20. He's willing to do whatever this team needs him to do. So I think we definitely see more running from Kyler Murray in the future.
And Lincoln Riley mentioned before the UCLA game, he said they have potentially more run game than anyone else in the country. We're going to find out whether that's for real or not, because now that Rodney Anderson's gone, we're going to see whether this run game is for real or not.
The big thing is, though, Josh, it doesn't just put pressure on the running backs, it puts pressure on a lot of other position groups moving forward.
Yeah, pretty much everybody on this team needs to step up. For me, I'm kind of looking at the defense. You know, the defense has played well so far, but you figure they're going to be on the field a little more maybe, because he's not going to run the ball as much. You know, you could argue the time possession will be a little more swayed, and the offense they could use a little more help now. The offense isn't as potent as they were before, just for obvious reasons. You just lost maybe the best player on the team, one of the best running backs in the country. So I'm kind of curious to see how the defense performs with a little more pressure on them, and knowing that the offense is missing, like I said, maybe their best player. So we talked about what is the team going to do. You kind of were talking about what Rodney's going to do. Do you think Rodney goes pro? Do you think he stays he comes back, tries to do this again, or does he just take what he can get? He probably will still be a middle-round pick, even with all the injuries, because he's so good. It's
a really tough question because he is a very good running back, but like we said, that's 3 season-ending injuries. That's a toll that he's taken before he even turns 22. You know, he hasn't even graduated college yet, and he's already torn an ACL, messed up his neck, messed up his back, messed up his ankle too. Those are a lot of question marks moving forward. I think he needs to stay one more year and prove that he can get over this injury one more time.
I disagree. I think we've seen our last game as Rodney Anderson as a Sooner.
Really?
I think he doesn't want to risk another injury because he's proven to be pretty injury prone. I think he's gone.
But
I think he's headed for the draft.
At the same time, an injury in college and an injury in the NFL aren't that much different. I feel like if he gets injured in the NFL, all of a sudden you're just proving, hey, this draft pick really wasn't worth it. He's just going to get hurt all the time.
His stock is not going to be very high. I'm not arguing that. I just don't think he comes back.
Here's the situation for Rodney Anderson moving forward, okay? If you go to the NFL right now, you still have a little bit of hype surrounding yourself, and you can market that to NFL teams. You may be able to, even anything, become an undrafted free agent, okay? The thing is, if you come back to college next year and you go through another one, you're done. I don't think any team's going to take a chance on a guy with 4 career-ending injuries in a season. I just don't know if it's in the best interest of Rodney to have another prove-it season. I think he has to take the market he has right now, take that momentum, and go into the NFL. I agree with Madeline. Again, Sooner fans would like to see him come back, and I think a lot of us would like to see him come back to build that resume. The thing is, you have to take what your resume is right now and start cementing it, because it could go up in flames here real quick if another season-ending injury happens next year.
But at the same time, you look at his resume. He's had one really good season. One really good season. The other 3 have been lost to injury. That's one season out of 4.
That's why you take that one and you submit it as fast as you can.
But there's so many other question marks around that one season. I feel like one isn't enough.
But okay, we know the dynamic athlete Rodney Anderson is. I ask you this, Sam Brown. If he comes back and he plays 1 to 2 games just like this season and he gets hurt again, is an NFL team taking a risk on him?
It's all a game of risk, you know? It's the actual game of risk, because you can go to the NFL and lose kind of some of that stock, or you can come back and try and get that prove-it season. That's a risk, because you could get hurt, but you could get hurt in the NFL as well.
I don't think it's a risk he's willing to take,
it's an even more physical game in the NFL.
If you get hurt in the NFL, you're still making money, man. That's just the situation.
That's kind of how I feel about it. You know, I tend to think the players are going to stay, but then after the last couple of years, Joe Mixon bounced earlier than I thought he would. Samaje Perine bounced earlier than I thought he would. I've seen a lot of players recently that I thought were coming back don't come back. And not to say that like OU's not going to be good next season, because that's ridiculous. But Kyler Murray's not going to be here. There's a little uncertainty who's going to play quarterback. They're not going to be as ready-made to win the title next year. So if Rodney comes back, he'd be a lot more for him. Then it's not as much of a coming back to make one more run at a title, because I don't know if next year's team will be any more ready than this year or last year or any other year's team
Probably
from
not.
Rodney's career. So, you know, it's kind of a delicate balance there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, Rodney Anderson has a decision, but I think that we all have kind of some position groups we think needs to step up in the end. For me, I've got my eye on the offensive line. You talked about Ben Powers. They knew that Rodney Anderson was done, and they only got 179 rushing yards. Now, granted, no sacks in the game against UCLA. Very, very good. Did not do their job in the running game. I need to see more out of the offensive line moving forward. Help these young running backs get going. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, as excited as Lincoln Riley was about the run game of this team, he's an air raid guy. We all know that. And we've all seen how good specifically CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown are. So I think they are going to be targeted a lot more. Obviously, with this loss of running back, they're going to be throwing the ball more than they probably would have been when they could rely on Rodney. So I look for the wide receivers to step up even more than they have been so far.
And another guy to call out, Grant Calcaterra. Only four receptions.
I'm going to go off on
Calcaterra. I know you're going off later in the show, but I need to say it right now, because if they can stretch the middle of the field and have teams focus on that as well, and not just the outsides where CeeDee and Hollywood are going to be causing chaos, that just makes this OU offense even more explosive.
A factor as a blocker as well.
Yeah, the passing has been weird so far. It's like Marquise Brown had one huge game, CeeDee Lamb had one huge game. Other people have made plays.
That just proves how good they are.
It's kind of
they can go
odd right
off.
now. Anyway, so we'll take a quick break. We're going to take a look at the day in Sooner history. Spencer Royce is going to bring that to us. How delicious is that?
Let's learn.
Let's learn some stuff. Then we'll start getting into the game that's going to happen at this stadium behind us, Iowa State today, Game 3, OU Iowa State. Take a break. We'll be right back here on GamedayU.
For today's flashback in Sooner football history, we go to a beatdown that was no mystery. Week 3, 2007, Utah State came to town and got trampled by the wagon. The Sooners never trailed, no touchdowns allowed. If it weren't for a field goal, the Aggies wouldn't have made a sound. In the first quarter, Sammy B came out firing. 11 straight completions and a touchdown to Joaquin. Malcolm Kelly caught 2. Can't leave out that dude. And for the 7 extra points, Garrett Hartley sent them through. DeMarco Murray was a beast, was a boss, in and out the D like some floss. A 92-year run to the house at all but sealing Aggies lost. And a curtain loft and pick 6. How can we forget this? The Sooners were playing defense. We missed that business. Keep in mind that this was only week 3 on a freshman-led team that had no holes to be seen and a new offensive scheme. 184 points through 3 games was the most in 72. As for who had the record before that, it was also OU. Averaging close to 60 a game, teams had no clue what to do. There was no question in the talent on this Crimson and Cream crew. There were no signs of this offense ever slowing down. What were the odds of Bradford Pass even managed to touch the ground? Easily, the Sooners won the game by a score of 54-3. It was a terrible day to be an Aggie, but a beautiful day in Sooner football history.
Thank you, Spencer, for that. Spencer with some bars right there.
That kid can sing.
That was interesting.
If our viewers weren't awake until now, they
definitely
certainly
are.
are after
Alrighty.
that one.
Catch Spencer on the studio team coming up here in just a little bit. Somebody who's normally on the studio team, who made the trip with us to Ames, Lauren Linville, superstar.
Hi,
Lauren.
It's been fun so far. We had a long trip, but it's been good.
There you
She
go.
was a little delirious in the car.
was.
Some funny photos.
I had the middle seat. I couldn't put my head back. It was a struggle. It was fun though.
So we talked about Florida-Atlanta game, we talked about UCLA game. Now let's kind of move more into what we're expecting to see today. Iowa State Big 12 opener. Obviously, we all remember what happened last year when these two teams played in Norman. Iowa State came into Norman, beat the Sooners 38-31, completely springboarded Iowa State's season. They went on to beat TCU. Kyle Kempt went bananas. He was 18-24, 343 yards and 3 touchdowns. We didn't even know who Kyle Kempt was. We're like, they got Kyle Kempt started. We don't know who that is. They're going to win big. And Iowa State came right in and just completely silenced
Shocker.
Gaylord Morris State. And that was a weird game too. He was up at half. That was a strange
Yeah, they blew
game.
a big lead for
What are
sure.
things we're expecting to see today for the rematch here? We'll start with Lauren.
Well, I think the big thing is if Kyle Kemp's going to play today.
That is
because that's the
huge.
biggest question. I mean, right now, obviously, as Madeline talked about earlier, they have the running back David Montgomery.
I'll touch on him in a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you take that because I know you want to talk about that. But I think the biggest thing is if Kyle's going to play. And if he doesn't play, I think that there's like no shot for Iowa State today. David Montgomery is going to be stopped by the defense. I think last year the biggest thing was the defense. And obviously we've talked about how Oklahoma's defense has stepped up this season so far. And so I think that was the biggest thing last year, and I think that if they can, continue to improve on that side of the ball, they'll be okay today. I think it'll be just fine.
Yeah, no disrespect to Zeb Nolan, but I'm going to disrespect him. He's a bum. He
He's
stinks.
Break that down.
He stinks.
I mean,
He's not good.
He literally played all right last year in the Baylor game. I mean, they won the game, but
His name's Zeb. You can't be good if your name is
I think
Zeb.
that's
it's a cool name, but
Zeb?
not a good football player.
That's a nice
important.
name.
Zeb Roberts.
It's important
I
for
can't wait to
tomorrow.
see little Zeb Roberts running around the football field.
Oh man. Well, like you said, Lauren, Dave Montgomery. We talked about it on Big Friday Sports on Friday, Colin. I mean, this guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And yes, he didn't have a good game last game. But I think that's just because Iowa State, honestly, is not a very good football team. There are more people on set right now than they scored last week versus Iowa.
That's
That's
true.
the whole game.
That's
and
a
then
tough way to
literally
start at
held
Iowa. That's a
3
tough
points.
because they had the first game get rained out.
Right, they've only played one game. We've only seen them one time this
Yeah.
year.
Pretty funny. They rescheduled that game. They're going to play Incarnate Word on
Yeah.
December 1st, which is the same as the Big 12 championship game. So they basically just like admitted.
Yeah, they just
we're
like,
not gonna
yeah,
be
we're
this
They
good.
got,
mid
they got
right
nothing
here.
to worry about. Let's be honest. But I mean, I think if Iowa State has any chance, even if Kempt is a starter, which obviously would help them a lot,
Right.
it's Dave Montgomery. This guy is a monster. Last season, he had just a huge year, definitely one of the best, if not the best, running back in the Big 12 right now. So look for them.
With Rodney out, I definitely
Oh,
think he
bug.
probably gets that role.
Yeah, with Rodney not there, I would say he's definitely
Yeah,
the best.
I'll tell you though, he was
back.
held last week to 44 yards on 17 carries. I mean,
Yeah.
they held him,
He
and I
did
think
not have a
OU
good
has the
game.
Iowa's
capability.
defense is pretty good.
He did not have
Yeah.
a good
That's
game.
a tough. I'm telling you,
Struggled
at
down on
Iowa, that's a
defense.
hard first game. I think Iowa State.
It is, but I feel like OU can hold
Against
him
your
to that,
rival,
too.
yeah,
The
it's
mystique
tough.
of Kinnick Stadium.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about how OU's going to play because of the loss last year. I think they're going to come out ready to go. They want to win
Right.
this game
Total
big. But I think
revenge.
going forward, I think Iowa State is better than they played last week, in my opinion.
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. There are two things that I'm looking at in this football game. Number one, Iowa State doesn't have a chance because Zeb Nolan's really bad, okay? Here's the thing. He's
careful.
played in
Be
about
careful. You
4 or
want people to hear
5 games, and I had a chance to talk to Iowa State play-by-play man this week and a couple of the beat writers, and they said, well, he's got an erratic arm, but he's very inconsistent. And I said, okay, so you mean that he's not very good most of the time, but sometimes he can be okay. And they're like, yeah, I mean, you
Consistency
basically
in your
hit the nail.
quarterback's pretty crucial.
Hit the nail on the head. So, if Zeb is going to play this football game for Iowa State and Kyle Kempt is a no-go, Iowa State makes their living off of Kyle Kempt being a game manager. One of our favorite little cliches in all of football.
Yeah.
He just manages the football
He's not
game.
going to lose you the game.
He's not gonna make
like Alex
the big
Smith.
mistake.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is not a game manager, but that's another take for another day. Here's the thing.
Alabama's quarterbacks for years. game
While
managers.
Kyle Kempt is a quote-unquote game manager, Zeb Nolan could be the game ruiner. And here's the thing: he's got a
He
very
will lose you
powerful-
games. Yeah.
Hot.
He's a powerful arm, redshirt sophomore. I mean, he can sling it, and he's got a little bit more mobility than Kempt. I just don't think he knows how to handle that, either the arm or the mobility. And I don't know if this stage is going to be quite set for him as soon as he takes the field. Playing Oklahoma's tough as it is. When you know you're the starting guy and you haven't played in a while and
Yeah.
all eyes are on you after the dude that beat Oklahoma last year is out, that's a tough thing to do. Now, my final point there was this guy named Alan Lazard. You guys remember him?
he can play the
pretty good.
football.
He was pretty good against Oklahoma last
Jordan
year.
Thomas is
Really
seeing
good.
Alan Lazard in his nightmares.
He had
still.
about 69 really nice yards against Oklahoma, and then he had that absolute moss of Jordan Thomas in the end zone on the left side
Game winner,
that made his career over. Lazard is not playing football for the Cyclones. Breaking news. I know, it's shocking. I like Hakeem Butler in the receiving core. He's similar stature. They're both about 6'5", 6'6", so they bring a similar game style. The thing is, no one can be as talented as Alan Lazard in this receiving core, and that makes OU secondary's job a whole lot easier.
Agreed.
Those things factored together, it's a tough thing for Iowa State to get the job done, and I don't think that they will today.
Yeah, look, bottom line, they have no shot. And the only way
Yeah, it's
the only way is if Joel Lanning comes back from the dead and
He honestly might. It wouldn't surprise me.
He clones himself and plays all 11 positions because he was the
Wow.
man. He was running the ball. He was sacking Baker.
Yeah.
Jordan Thomas seen Al Lazard in his nightmares. Baker Mayfield seeing Joel Lanning in his nightmares.
That's true.
Agreed.
Who was it on Oklahoma? It might have been Lincoln Riley that said that was one of the best dual performances he's seen by a singular athlete. I don't blame him.
May have
I
been.
mean, Lanning was like, all right, this is my game, so let's quiet the crowd and go out here and dominate. Yeah, I don't know. The Cowboys cut him, so maybe he's investigating a year of eligibility or two, but I don't think it's going to pan out for him, unfortunately, for Cyclones fans
That would
and
be cool.
Lanning.
for sure.
What a storyline, though, that would be. Now you got me all hopeful. Dang it, Josh. I need to
Clone
see
yourself
Lanning.
and come back.
Oh, that would be fun, man.
All right. Well, that's
All
what we had to say about Iowa State for now. We'll get back into it later. Don't worry. But let's hear what the coaches and players had to say throughout the week about the big rematch.
No, we announced the deal about Rodney. You know, obviously, a tough deal. I think we said in the statement, really all that we felt there. So excited that we've still got him here as a leader, as a captain. He'll still have a big impact on this team, just not on the field. And like I said, we'll have other guys step up and be ready to go.
This is the University of Oklahoma. We have to reload. Next man has to step up, and I believe we got the players to do that. So it's obviously tough losing him, but we got guys that got to step up.
It hurts because, you love that guy, and to see him be this is his third time. He's had a career injury, man. It sucks. It does. It's tough.
This guy's so mentally tough. He's so physically gifted. He'll probably come back better. I mean, I would be shocked if he doesn't.
Like I said, it's going to be hard to replace Rod, but, I mean, we got Trey, Sel, TJ, KB, and then, when I have to run, I will. So I don't, anticipate running the ball 20 times a game, though.
Excited about this game week coming up. Going to be a big one for us, certainly, in so many ways. One, you're playing a really good football team on the road, opener to Big 12 play.
Other good team. I'm not going to say too much about them other than, they'll be a good challenge for us.
Coach Campbell's done a tremendous job at Iowa State. It's really an understatement. One of the most improved teams, really probably in the country over the last few years. Obviously, we had a heck of a game with them last year. They had a great season, knocked off a lot of really good football teams, won a lot of games.
We love playing on the road. Playing on the road's great. It's awesome playing here and having, 89,000 people cheer you on, but it's a different feeling when you're on the road and everyone's booing you.
I thought probably last year, they were probably the best individually, just straight tackling. They were probably the best that we saw all year, including Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, all the other fantastic defenses that we played.
They like to get dirty. They put their nose in the ground and they work it out.
I mean, they were, a lot of people probably didn't believe it before our game, but obviously after our game, and they went on and beat TCU and several other really good football teams. I mean, people figured out pretty quick that these guys are good, and they are good.
You can't really get complacent, in any position or any time throughout the game. We had a decent lead going into halftime, and I think we just kind of lost our edge coming out into the second half, and you always got to play on edge no matter who you play.
I think we're going to see one of the best running backs in the conference. Their guy's really a physical player, does some really, really nice things on film, very difficult to tackle. So that'll be, slowing him down is going to be a big key to the game regardless of who's at quarterback.
Yeah, I think as the season goes on, everybody's got to get better. I got to get better. I got to be better. Lions got to get better. Running backs got to be better. Receivers got to be better. I think throughout practice we will. And we'll get stronger as the year goes on. Like I said, I think we got running backs that will step up.
Yeah, and then as the backs here go forward, it's just going to be based on performance. If we kind of like we were last year for a large part of the season. If all those guys are performing well, but nobody is really just totally outplaying the other, then I'm sure we'll play a bunch of those guys.
So that's what coaches and players had to say about the Iowa State game this week. Guys, what are some takeaways from what Lincoln and the boys had to say there?
Yeah, well, they don't seem very nervous at all that Rodney's out, and I don't know if they're, as Madeline's going to touch on in a minute, if they're putting up a front or what. But honestly, I know you guys talked about this in the last block, but I don't think that they should be nervous at all. They are ridiculously deep in the running game, and so I don't think that is an issue. Obviously, Rodney is the player. He's the leader and everything. But with Marcellus Sutton and with all the other guys back there, I think that they'll be just fine without him. I mean, you can't make up for him, but I think that with the amount of guys that they have back there, they'll be okay.
I think Lincoln is becoming a pro putting up a poker face, because he lied to us all summer about the quarterback battle.
Yeah.
He lied to us about UCLA being good, and now he's lying to us that he's not worried about Rodney being out. How could you not be worried that Rodney's out?
I mean, I'm sure he's worried, but he's okay. I mean, he knows that he's okay.
The bottom line is this team, they have playoff aspirations and they have playoff talent. What happens when you lose one of the guys that's essential to that?
Yeah.
Does Lincoln say, hey guys, Rodney's gone, we're gonna do our best? No, he's gonna be like, guys, next man up, we have a lot of talent on this
Exactly.
team. Why are we going to worry?
Exactly.
He's not but does he lay in bed at night and he's like, yo, we don't have, it's
It was just funny because he was
dear God, heal Rodney, we don't know.
It was just funny. It was just funny to me because he was sitting up there and he was like, Rodney's not dead. He's still on the team.
Yeah,
It was like,
but he's not dead.
You're killing the storyline, Lincoln.
Do you think that he could have thought all this could have happened again? I mean, he's probably already planned for that a little bit if you had to think about it.
I mean, he's been hurt two injuries
twice.
Before, two big injuries.
He had a great season last season, but who's to say he couldn't hurt himself again? And he did.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
I mean, coaches are always ready for the worst to happen.
Especially
they always
Oklahoma's
are,
offense. Yeah.
But it's just difficult to say if he really is worried. I'm sure he's, like you said,
worried.
Josh, he has a poker face. He's putting up a front at least to the other guys in the locker room, so they're not worrying. It's just hard to know how worried he really is.
Look, poker face or not, it all goes out the window when you take the field, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, we gotta address it. First away game for the Sooners this season. And we know how much they loved going on the road last year.
They did.
All right, this team turned into something a little different
Planting flags and
every
stuff.
time. Now it's time to relight the fire that you had on your torch every single time you stormed an opponent's field. Take the castle. Get out there, prove it that you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Ben Powers, I love when people boo us, and then they're
I love Ben
quiet.
Powers.
Dude, Ben Powers is kind of the man. One of my favorite
character.
quotes he had at Big 12 Media
Yeah,
days.
the soul thing.
I like taking a man's hopes and dreams and ending them. Oh my gosh.
quote.
Yeah.
But you need to do
He's
that
an intense
today.
dude, yeah.
You go out there and you end some people's hopes and dreams on that field, and of course they're talking about it right now. We need to see what they're bringing to the table against Iowa State, and it's all happening here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think this team likes to go on the road more than sometimes than they like to play.
Well,
at
we
home.
were talking about during the break, they haven't lost a true road game, since any of us have been at school here.
That's
It's
insane.
2014. Trevor Knight was the quarterback. Baker Mayfield hadn't even
I remember
played a
that
snap
game.
yet.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since the team lost a road game.
Yep.
You said longest streak?
Longest streak in the country, and the second closest is Wisconsin at 9. So it's
Yeah.
not even close.
Yeah, it's actually we've seen their dominant performances too, like Morgantown a couple years ago, Bedlam a couple years ago. They've had Baylor a couple years ago, Ohio State, Tennessee. They go into hard environments and they literally do look like they play better.
Exactly. I think they do. I think they love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Feed off of it.
It's all happening pretty soon. We'll see what the Sooners do.
Absolutely. Should be a fun one here coming up. We're talking about the game a little more later, but for now, studio team will handle it. Spencer, I promised you Spencer was coming. He's coming right now. Among others, Christian, Shiloh, William, they're all going to do a great job. Hang with them for a little bit. We'll be back later on in the show.
Welcome back to GamedayU. We're at the studio here in Gaylord at the University of Oklahoma. We have a great crew for you, guys. Are we excited?
Very excited, honestly. I'm ready. What about you guys?
I'm jazzed, dude.
This is my first show, and I'm really, really excited about it.
I mean, the remote team did a lot of fun facts of their own. We've got a
Fun's debatable.
Colin liked to think it was fun. Madeline's first football game, that's whatever. But, we're here in front of the second biggest Big 12 football stadium behind us in Gaylord. And right now, we are going into our 2-minute drill. Each of our anchors here will have a chance to talk about this one question. Which Week 2 outcomes surprised you guys the most? We'll start with you, Spencer.
I think that even though Notre Dame won their game, I think the fact that they only beat Ball State by 8 points.
Ball State?
Exactly, Ball State. Ball State balled out, I guess. Ball State balled out and got an L. Jalen Elliott on Notre Dame, if he doesn't have those 2 interceptions in that game, I think they just up and lose because Wimbush threw 3 of his own, and they beat Michigan Week 1, and everyone's like, maybe Notre Dame's still pretty good. They were pretty solid last year, and they came back this year and got a really big Week 1 victory, but maybe Michigan isn't even that good. Like I said, it's still really early, so we don't really know how great all these teams are. But Ball State almost beating Notre Dame, that shocked me.
Yeah, as you said earlier, I don't think Michigan's that good this year. I need to see a lot more out of them throughout
Big Ten
the season.
offenses.
Yeah, Big Ten offenses and doing too well. Charlotte?
So my biggest surprise this Week 2 happened at that stadium right behind us. Actually, I was surprised with the OU UCLA game.
Okay.
What did you want?
I expected them to win.
She wanted to cover
and
the
I'm
spread,
happy.
right? Yeah.
Right.
She wanted
My
UCLA to
thing
win.
is, I want a national championship, and you get that by scoring points. And I think that it should have been a much bigger lead for OU. I don't think UCLA should have scored as many times as they did. I think after such a clean first half last week, I want some more. I think there were at times that the offense looked almost like they weren't in sync with each other. I think there were times where they kind of lost where they were, and I expect a national championship
You
team.
want to be selfish.
Yeah.
I am being
your
selfish. I
points.
expect more.
The standard is the standard, and you're holding them to a very, very high
Right.
one right now.
If you want to be up there with Clemson and Alabama, and we want to secure that playoff spot, we've got to have those points going into playoffs.
I agree. 100%. You gotta score points.
Right.
That's what a major factor in what the committee looks at. So I agree. My biggest shocker in Week 2, I'm gonna go with Florida State and Samford. They were down to the wire. They didn't take the lead until like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was shocked. I'm sitting there watching this game, and Florida State looks like they're about to lose. This Devlin Hodges over at Samford, this quarterback, he's been getting some Sunday looks, some NFL scouts. He was dealing all night. He had 475 passing yards, 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
And Florida State.
Playing a scout team.
Yeah.
Florida State's garbage.
Yeah, no, they looked ridiculously bad against Virginia Tech Week 1. I was shocked at that. Yeah, here they go, putting up 2 touchdowns. Florida State goes down 2 scores. I was shocked. I was seeing Willie Taggart, and I'm like, he's calling screens on 3rd and 1. You got two 210-pound running backs. Just run the rock. Ask Marshawn Lynch. I guarantee you just get that 1 yard and you'll be all right.
I mean, they need to do about everything different.
Yeah.
So you're already calling for his head?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I agree, right? I mean, they played,
High
2
standards.
home games? They've almost lost 2 home games. They lost one of them.
I mean, they won a national championship when? 2013? They're not that far away from being that good.
Yeah.
And now they just garbage can of a football program.
I agree.
Samford?
Yeah, let's be clear. It's not Stanford we're talking about here.
It's
Samford.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm going to throw out a fun fact. Shout out to the guys out on the road team. Samford has a total enrollment of 3,100.
I might get a starting spot on that team.
3,000?
At quarterback.
Maybe
Florida
I could
State.
throw. I can sling the rock.
Let's
Yeah,
not
we
get
already
ahead of
heard you
ourselves,
rap
right?
today. Like
Right.
we know your skill set is pretty wide.
I don't know if it stretches that far. We'll see.
It's versatile.
We'll put a
Yeah.
pigskin in your hands and see what you got.
I can throw like 60 yards.
Can you prove that?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, we'll put together a
Anybody got a
recruiting tape
football?
for you and send it off, and we'll see. We don't want to lose you here. We like you a lot, but
I know.
Sanford might want you a little bit more.
They got my tape. Check me out on Huddle.
We'll not be doing that.
All right.
All right, well, that'll be all for this segment. Stick around after the break, and we'll have a lot more for you. Welcome back to the studio team, your favorite team, because everybody loves an underdog. Guys, we're here with my favorite segment, 3 and Out. Get to talk about some great games from last week. We had a really contentious Week 2. We're going to start with Arizona State, Michigan State, a game that I think surprised a lot of people in what was kind of the Pac-12 After Dark game. Not all Pac-12, but everybody loves the Pac-12 After Dark.
I agree.
Christian, we'll start with you. Give me some of your thoughts after Arizona State. Are they really a contender in the Pac-12?
Yeah, I think they're a legit team. They've got a senior quarterback. He's got a lot of experience leading that team. They've got N'Keal Harry, 6'4", 215-pound receiver. He's dominant. He looks like he's NFL ready. I guarantee he'll be gone somewhere in the first round. I mean, Arizona State missed a lot of throws, but that's something you kind of tune up as the season goes along. I think they look good. Herm Edwards' clock management was amazing.
Hermatology, baby. Hermatology. A lot of people weren't going to give him the credit. No one believes.
I was big time wrong on that. I thought Michigan State was going to work him. But
Yeah.
hey, surprised me. Pleasant surprise. I dig it.
I agree.
Shallow?
I've got to disagree. I don't think that they are right now. I think that it's a little too early to call that. It kind of reminds me of our Iowa State situation last year. They have kind of a breakout game. They go for a little bit.
That hurts.
And then they kind of fade to the background again, and no one's talking about them. I think that in a couple of weeks, when Arizona State plays Washington, maybe then we can see if they're a breakout team. But, you know, they struggled last year. They actually lost against UCLA, who we just beat, and we saw what that team looked like. So I think that it's kind of a stretch to say that they're a contender right now.
Yeah, no, that game against Washington is going to be a true test. I'm
Huge.
excited to see that one.
But Washington's easily the leading candidate to win the Pac-12. I think that's most everyone's consensus pick. And Stanford's also there. Arizona State definitely could do some work there.
In that game, if they can stay with them and play a full 4 quarters, all right.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think when you have a conference this shallow, then you're pretty much a contender to begin the season anyway. Arizona State obviously was pretty bad last year, but right now they're sitting 2-0. Pac-12 is not deep. The run defense looks phenomenal, and their quarterback, his name is Manny Wilkins, 65% completion percentage right now, and his passer rating is at like 150 something, like 156. Wow. Yeah, he's actually doing really, really well. The only thing I want them to prove to me is their run game. They only have like 310 rushing yards total as an entire offense, and their leading rusher has like 130. So if they can get the run game going, the run defense looks very good on the other side of the ball. Like I said, Manny Wilkins is tearing it up, playing quarterback for him. And I think actually Herm Edwards has a very good grip on this team. I actually like what he's doing. I got to watch him play Michigan State last weekend, and I'm a believer. I think that the Pac-12 was just weak enough for them to make some noise in there. Washington already dropped their first game. I know it was against a very, very good Auburn team, but it's wide open. USC doesn't look amazing. Stanford's always going to be there, and like I said, Washington. But hey, take it if you want it. Take it, and they look like they can do it.
And a lot of people weren't going to give like Herm Edwards the benefit of the doubt. It'd been a long time since he'd coached in the NFL, and even then, he wasn't that great and very successful. So I think it's interesting to see going down the stretch if he can continue to get this team clicking on the right thing. But so far, it's working well.
Yeah, no, I agree. As you said, I'm a big fan of their senior quarterback. I'm missing his name. Danny Wilkins? Manny Wilkins, excuse me. I don't know. I kind of expected a little bit more from him against Michigan State, honestly. I thought he was missing throws occasionally. I feel like there were third downs they could have converted on that he kind of missed throws.
Just tune it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of third downs they needed to convert.
Yeah, no, small things. Tune it up.
I mean, he went 30 of 48 for 380 yards. I mean, that's a lot, but 48 throws in one game, you're going to get a lot of yards out of that. And especially against the defense
only if you complete the passes.
That's fair. And 30 completions is a lot.
That sounds like a Matt Stafford kind of game, if we're being honest.
Not last week.
They're just
not the current Matt Stafford. Old Matt Stafford maybe. And it's interesting to see too, because you would have thought Michigan State, a Big Ten team that is kind of known a conference for its ground and pound. The teams between the two of them combined for 107 yards on the ground. That is an average day for most running backs. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they went so passing just because of?
They're just trying to stay with the flow of the game. They see the other.
If I had a running back averaging 107 yards a game, I'd be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though, I mean, you said it was combined, but one running back, that'd be pretty good.
They still got LJ Scott out there. I feel like he's been there for like 5 years. I don't know. I expected a lot more.
I agree though, but I think that you have to have that running game. Yeah. You really have to.
No,
and so it's just like right now they're just so wishy-washy for me on that side. It almost looks like they're completely leaning on their pass game.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and from a program that has produced as many caliber offensive linemen as they have in the NFL currently, it's surprising to see them struggle on the ground. Mm. But I'm going to come back to something that Spencer talked about a little bit earlier. USC has looked not good. I mean, they played a week 1 opponent that was meh, but Stanford really kind of came out and dominated this game, guys.
Yeah.
They did. I wasn't too happy about it personally. Also, I defended USC last week. I said they can shut down Bryce Love if there's a big if there, and they were not able to do that right off the bat. Within like 5 seconds, I was like, change channel. This one's over. This is not happening. He's about to run.
A lot of takes didn't work out for you
for the entire game, and he did do that. But I think that this says more about USC as a program than it does about Stanford this year. Stanford did exactly what I expected them to do. Costello and Love have been there for a minute now, and they gave me what I thought they would give me. But honestly, I was really disappointed. I thought USC's line would be a little bit better than it was the year before. Last year, I hate talking about it. It was so bad. And they just seem really weak in the trenches we were talking about before the show. They just do not win battles down there. JT Daniels is under pressure a lot, and you got to give that man some time. This is his second game. He even skipped his senior year of high school, so he's younger than everyone out there. And if you're going to put him in that situation as a starter and not give him any time to throw, you're not going to be able to win games, and you're not going to be able to get the offense rolling, especially against great teams like Stanford. So until they figure that out, this is telling me a lot more about USC than Stanford. Stanford didn't do anything I didn't expect them to do.
No, I agree.
I think that it said more about Stanford, actually. I think that there is just so much hype behind the USC defense, and that's kind of what everyone supports them through. And I totally agree. Their offense was a hot mess during this game.
It's bad. It's bad.
But I think that they're showing, like Stanford, they had a decent season last season, but I think that the consistency that they're starting to show already so early on, it's a really nice thing, especially if you're a Stanford fan. Last year, right before their bowl game, they actually lost to USC. And so I love a good underdog. And this was almost like a revenge story. You were watching them play like they had a chip on their shoulder. And I think that's the best way for a football player to play. It makes them meaner, and that's what you want. I think that USC kind of just like was overrated, just like how Lauren said last week. They kind of just showed up, and then they got Bryce loved all over the field. I mean, you put the ball in his hands and he makes magic happen. It's beautiful watching him play football.
Yeah. Nah, you can tell he's been working on his game, his cuts, his footwork. So
he has an ankle that works.
Yeah,
it's an important part of it.
Yeah, that helps you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
he's pretty good on a bad one.
Yeah, he was good.
He has a high football IQ, and you can see it. You can just almost see those gears turning as he's running that football.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. He's looked good. It looks like he's put on a little bit of weight too. He looks like he's faster. His cuts are more agile. He's going in between tackles. I love it. But I think this says more about USC, honestly. As you said, I just feel like Stanford's good. We know Stanford's good. They're going to run the ball. For sure. USC seemed like they ran the ball a lot more than USC typically does.
It's because that man just keeps getting sagged.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when you don't have any time to throw the ball, but I was still expecting to see USC maybe throw some play action or get the ball out quick. I know I've seen teams start to do that in the NFL. When you got a bunch of pass rush, just throw the ball out quick. Do short 5-yard routes, but I wasn't seeing any of that. And
Clay Helton gets the ball more than players on the offense do. They're getting it from the defense every time. It makes me so mad.
Yeah, no, USC did not look good. They got to the red zone a bunch of times. They get past the 50-yard line. They're moving down the field, and then the drive kind of sputters, and then they miss a field goal. Or they get an interception late, in the 30-yard line. I'm just like, you guys got to capitalize on opportunities. You got to score when you get that side of the field, and you gotta capitalize.
Yeah, and I think USC is a program, and we'll kind of talk about this later because I know you want to talk about their next opponent.
I do.
Who have the problems of their own, but I think USC, like Texas, is a program that consistently gets talent. No one's going to deny USC talent. What they do with that talent has been their problem in recent years, and they had obviously Sam Darnold, and who is now killing it with the Jets. Granted, it's week 1.
Yeah,
great, and it was against a very porous Lions defense, but there's a quality amount of talent that they had and didn't do. I mean, they had the big game against Penn State a couple years ago.
It's the offensive line, man. Yeah. It's the offensive line. He was under pressure 55% of his throws last year. You got to fix the offensive line if you ever want to win anything in college football at any level of football. Yeah. Offensive line is the most important part of a team, in my opinion.
Nah, receivers are where they get their money. Come on.
No, I agree with you. They have to relieve some of that pressure that those teams are putting on that pocket. I mean, he's getting creamed.
Yeah, you need a pocket to throw. That's just how the passing game works. And
if you're gonna recruit pocket passers, you're gonna need a pocket for them to throw out of.
Right.
Fair. Yeah. And you see that with a lot of the national championship contenders: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State even in recent years, and Oklahoma in the past couple of years has had really good offensive lines. And like Baker's going to get the hype. Tua's going to get the hype, and we'll talk about him later too. But you can't do any of that if you don't have protection. And you see that in the NFL too. It's just a basic rule of football. If you don't have an offensive line, then you're just done. You can't produce things on offense, whether through the air or on the ground. And I think it should be said something about Stanford's defense too. They haven't allowed a touchdown in 7 straight quarters of football, going back to their game before that. They allowed San Diego State to score in the first quarter, and since then have not allowed a touchdown in 7 straight quarters, and that's a really impressive statistic, especially when playing a top 25 opponent.
Fun fact.
That's pretty. That is a fun fact. That is a pretty good fun fact, I'd say. But going on to the next game, and I think a game that surprised most everyone in the country, a game that most people wrote off as kind of just like that'll be a publicity stunt. Clemson, Texas A&M. And what the question really is did Clemson, was it more Clemson or was it A&M? Like what? That's kind of what everyone's trying to figure out. Did Clemson really show that they have more problems than we realized, or was it Texas A&M being that good?
I was on the A&M hype train. That was actually one of the few things I was really confident about last week, and I think that Texas A&M is going to be better than people gave them credit for going into the season, even though they have, I think, the hardest schedule in all of college football, I'm pretty sure. It's terrible to look at. If you look at it, you pull it up, you look at it, you just start crying for them.
Yeah,
it's so hard. Yeah. But this doesn't change anything for me with the Tigers. I think this will be the only regular season game that they falter this year. I thought that was the only chance they had to lose in the regular season, and Jimbo Fisher knew exactly how to prepare for this team because he plays them every single year. It's not like he doesn't have a lack of talent, and it was just a huge game. Like that was such a big moment at Kyle Field. That was the highest ranked team to ever play a non-con game there ever.
Wow.
And so that's a really, really big stage, and Texas A&M was a kind of a mystery coming into that game. So I don't think this shows me much about the Tigers as changing the view of how I feel about them when I watch them, because I think they're going to be able to just work through their weak schedule. Like, they're fine.
That's not saying much, yeah.
It's so weak. So I think they're going to be just okay. Like, no worries about Clemson.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like every amazing team has games where they're going to need to dig deep, and they're going to need to push one out late or have a defensive stop. You saw it at Oklahoma at TCU.
Yeah, Clemson's dropped one the past 2 years. I think they lost to Syracuse and then Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so, every team's always going to find a game where they're struggling. They're at an opposing field. The crowd's going crazy. All the odds seem like they're against them. But I think this shows a lot of Texas A&M. I think A&M is good. They've got some receivers out there. Who do they've got? Kellen Mond was throwing the guys.
Kellen Mond is a beast, dude.
Oh, my goodness. He was making plays on the ground, making plays in the air. He was trusting his receivers. His receivers were going out and making plays. It was just fun to watch. They've got a receiver, Kendrick Rogers. He's 6'3", 210. He's a redshirt sophomore, but this guy is one of the most flexible guys I've seen. He's going out making catches deep in the game, late in the game. They're just throwing out to him, kind of throwing up a prayer, honestly. Sometimes it's 50-50 when you throw up to a big receiver. You're kind of just hoping
that they're bigger.
Yeah, they're bigger. Yeah. They're going to make the better catch.
The Megatron effect, if you will.
Yeah, honestly, it is a Megatron effect.
So I do it in Madden.
And it works a lot, too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and it seemed to work for Kellen Mond and Kendrick Rogers. Yeah, so I just think this shows a lot of Texas A&M. Their offense is something to worry about in the SEC.
I was really disappointed in the Tigers. I've been a fan of them for a while, and I just think, like, that defense, that second half.
Yeah.
Where was it?
No,
didn't look good.
It was getting Jimbo'd.
It simply looked like they could not finish a football game. Yeah. And they're ranked number 2.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you're seeing like these plays. I mean, Kellen Mond's a great quarterback. He really is. He got 430 yards on that game against the defense that just last year was ranked 4th fewest yards gained. But I think that says more on that defense. I think that with the talent that they have, Clyde Farrell, Kristen Wilkins, Austin Bryant, that D-line should be sharp.
You're not going to beat Clemson running the ball.
Right, no.
And so Kellen Mond was slinging it.
Dude, he's made some strides this past offseason. I feel like, last year he got benched for Nick Starkel?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure who Nick Starkel
is. Yeah, who is that?
Yeah, right. He went in for a play against Clemson, fumbled, and Kellen Mond goes back in, and he's just making plays. He's out there scrambling, finding guys down the field, extending plays. the roof is exponential
ceiling
for
is
this
the
guy.
roof,
Right.
Yeah.
And with the hype behind this Clemson defense as well, I mean, you got 8 returners. Granted, you got 2 newbies, but 2 newbies does not do what happens in that second half.
And I think we need to talk about on the other side of the ball as well. Like, everyone wants to talk about Clemson's defense versus A&M's offense. That was the story of the game.
Yes.
But this Clemson offense, who has 2 quarterbacks that would start most places, and they're in a currently in a battle, and it looked like Kelly Bryant really came in and dominated that second half. He led them, despite what a lot of people are saying that he needs to be replaced. Thoughts?
I agree. I didn't think that offensively. I think that, they scored points early. They were leading. And I think it was the defense that kind of gave the points up that happened. I think that the offense did as much as they could do. Because y'all are right. A&M is a good program. And
Tough place to play.
yeah, for sure.
Kyle Field was wild.
100,000 people.
I'm personally still on the Trevor Lawrence train.
That kid can sling it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. If you guys can't tell, I'm a big fan
big
of
fan?
slinging it. Yeah, but once again, it was week 2.
Sure.
I just think that he has a much higher ceiling than Kelly Bryant. I got to see Kelly Bryant play all last year. I wasn't very
Not
impressed
that
at any
impressed,
point.
yeah.
I thought if they had a better quarterback last year, then that's possibly a national championship team. But I don't know. I'm just waiting to see more from both sides. I think they're going to keep using that 2 quarterback system. I think they're going to keep on giving them both looks until it get to the thick of their schedule. But actually, they might just use it all season because their schedule is not very thick at all.
Sure.
I think they have probably the weakest schedule out of the top 5 teams that are ranked right now, for sure.
All right, that'll about wrap it up for this segment. Thanks, guys. We'll throw it back out to our remote team in Ames. Stay tuned. I'm sure they've got a lot for you.
And we are back here at Jack Trice Stadium. We did not move. We're still in Ames. We did
Still
not go
here.
back to Norman yet.
Same spot.
We're going to watch the game first, then we'll go back. So, getting more into this Iowa State game, let's kind of break it down by position group. Starting with offense, Lauren, what do you expect to see when OU's offense is on the field against this Iowa State defense? Played pretty well last week, held Iowa to 13 points.
They did. I think the big thing, as we've hit on a million times, Rodney being gone, I honestly think we're going to see Kyler Murray run the ball a lot more. And I think we're going to see a lot more action from CeeDee Lamb, Marquise Brown, all those guys deeper on the field. And so I think the big thing here is, I'll tell you, a lot of times out of CeeDee Lamb, we see 1 big game out of him or 2 big games out of him. I think he's going to step up big time. I mean, we saw it last week, but I think this is not a 1-game thing like we saw last year out of him. I'm thinking we're seeing a lot out of him, a lot out of Hollywood, a lot more in the passing game, and Kyler running the ball. So I think it'll be a lot different than last week, obviously, but
Do you think it's going to be like they'll just put up big points again?
I do. I think they will. I mean, obviously, Iowa State has a better defense than I think people are giving them credit for.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, I think they're still going to put up the numbers as it's an Oklahoma
I'm a little
offense.
curious if how Iowa State approaches this. Do they kind of play a little, like, don't unload the box a little bit, kind of load the secondary up a little more and try to force them to run the ball? How do they play it with Rodney being out? I would like to know how they're approaching it.
I think defensively for Iowa State, to go off of Lauren's offensive take, Jaquan Bailey at defensive end is a guy that can put up oboe-type numbers. He's a great pass rusher at quality, and they have 3-4 guys in that defensive secondary for the Cyclones that are actually fairly talented and have plenty of speed. So I think they're going to anticipate some more of the passing game. Obviously, Lauren brings up a great point. When you have 2 dynamic players like CeeDee and Marquise on the outside, you have to anticipate they're going to get the football, right? So I think that Iowa State's going to do what they did last year. They dropped 8 guys back in coverage, made Oklahoma try and find passing lanes, and they could not. And that's why Iowa State walked away with the victory. I think they'll take it with a similar game plan. Thing is, I think Oklahoma will anticipate that and try and go in the run game a little bit more. So Sermon could be a factor, Sutton could be a factor, but again, finding the receivers is a big deal, and Iowa State will try and counter by dropping 8 guys back again and letting Jaquan Bailey pin his ears back.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we talk about. Like I mentioned when I talked about last year's game, I said Iowa State, Kyle Kemp shredded the secondary.
Yeah.
Defense played well too. I mean, they held OU's offense last year to 31 points. That's low for OU. I mean,
which is hilarious to me. 31 points.
What are they doing? I mean, obviously they don't have Joel Lanning, who had I think around 52 sacks in that game. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It felt like it.
I thought he hit triple digits. So.
And I think he had 16 interceptions and 47 fumbles forced. But somehow 49 recovered. So Anyway, but yeah, the defense for Iowa State is pretty strong. Not that Iowa's some juggernaut, but they kept them from doing a whole lot. Curious to see how they do that. So moving on to the other side of the ball, defense, switching gears. Madeline, how do you think the defense, off to a good start here. Two good outings. Hopes are high that Stoops somehow learned how to fix the defense all of a sudden. How do you think they're going to play today against Kyle Kempt or Zeb Noland or Montgomery or whatever?
After the Florida Atlantic game, I said on the show, I said, yeah, the defense played well, but I want them to really be tested. Today, they will not be tested.
No.
We still
Not if
have to
Zeb.
wait to see a real test,
Zeb.
especially if Zeb is out there, not Kyle Kempt.
I want to meet Zeb.
Maybe
so I can
you
be like,
will.
"What's up, Zeb?"
Maybe you will. But I mean, again, 3 points, guys. They scored 3 points.
That's a lot in soccer.
It wasn't in soccer though. It was in the game of football. So I
Wouldn't
think
it be goals? I think it's goals, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We need Sam on here.
too
to
many
tell us
footballs.
He'll be back. He'll have his time.
But I mean, I think if the defense gives up even like 17 points, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
If it's Zeb, if it's Zeb, like for me, like as we do our score predictions at
I
the
don't
end,
think Kyle Kempt plays.
we do.
I
Our,
don't think he does.
I don't think he's going to
Really
either.
don't.
But we do our
I
score
think
predictions
there's
at the
a very
end.
small chance.
And I
that he
submitted
does play.
my score prediction to our producer Parker Thune. What's up, Parker? I was like, here's my score prediction if Kempt plays, and here's my score prediction if Zeb plays. And it was like way lower.
You boosted, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Madeline brings up a great point, and I kind of want to factor in from Iowa State's offensive perspective. Again, I mentioned him earlier, Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 6'6" receiver on the outside. How do they try and get him the football if Zeb's in there?
Zeb. I love calling him Zeb.
Zeb, man. You'd think that's a nickname, but no, it's his real
that's his
name.
That's his full name.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess.
Zebediah.
What I've seen on his roster card, I mean, yeah.
I will
he's,
know before the last block if Zeb is his full name.
Thing is, I do want to point something out that's
Zebediah.
interesting. Iowa State's offensive line last week gave up 4 sacks, if I remember correctly. And of course, Oklahoma's defense had 6 sacks against UCLA. How does that correlate? I don't know. I mean, it's something to keep an eye on. Is this pass rush emerging, or is Iowa State's offensive line really bad?
I feel bad for the Cyclones already. I just think they're going to get dominated. I think all their receivers, I think this secondary is ready to play. I think their receivers won't be able to do much. Montgomery could give them a little trouble, like we said, but again, he didn't look good last week, and I think Oklahoma's defense could be better than Iowa's this year.
I mean,
it'll be interesting to
if
see.
I'm Mike Stoops, I'm just like, I'm putting like every single player on defense in the box and just saying, you're not going to run with Montgomery. We're going to make Zeb throw.
And I want to bring up an interesting point there, too. I bet you didn't know this, but Montgomery was actually in the top 3 in the receiving leaders for Iowa State last year. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
We're like, all right, well, if we can't run him,
We're just gonna
just throw it to him, I guess. And it worked. So is that something they try and do again? It worked for him last
I
year.
guess. I don't know.
But that factors in the pass rush, too.
What percentage capacity will the stadium be at the start of the fourth quarter?
Ooh, 25.
I was going to say 25.
25 is
I was
my
gonna
guess.
say 25.
28.96%.
How many people is that if the stadium holds 60-something thousand?
Where's Joe for
I know, we need Joe.
math?
Joe, come
We
back
need
to us.
Joe.
I don't do math.
I don't do math either, sorry.
It looked
All
like
right.
you were trying.
Third position group, Colin, that's like your thing so far this season. You're all about the special teams.
I called Beamer out, and so far, Beamer ball
When are we
is
going to stop
here.
hearing about that?
I'm just going to keep patting myself.
Let's get a
on
hot
the back.
take. Predict something. Predict a punt return, touchdown, or a block
Okay,
punt
I like
or
this.
something.
All right, well,
or a block field goal.
I'm going to say
Ooh.
that at the end because, again, first of all, I called out Beamer, punt block, returns. I'll get into that. And then I called out Mark Jackson. He had 10 total tackles. So,
Oh, wow.
Do I have law coming out of my mouth? I don't know, but we'll find out again today once I'm right. So, special teams wise, I can't believe the advantage that this is giving the Sooners right now.
They look so much better.
It's unbelievable. And I think Lincoln Riley brought up a great point. There's not really anything that unites a team more than a great special teams play. Because
Yeah.
it's a mix of offensive guys, a mix of defensive guys, and it puts you in a great position for both. Of course, you let off with the punt block for a touchdown. I was 6 years old last time that happened. And then they didn't block a punt, but they had 2 massive returns.
Trey Brown.
Trey Brown with
Yes,
an
that was
80-plus
insane. He
kick
came on
return.
Right out of
And
left
then,
field there.
Yeah, another good one later, too.
and
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb in punt return. So both aspects of the return game, they made an impact. What happens next? Onside kick, recover that?
You know,
I don't think so.
You know what
because that
frustrates
won't be
me
necessary.
is that Austin Seibert hasn't made a field goal yet.
That's where I was going.
And that's actually kind of he's only 0 for 1.
Hopeful, Austin Seibert.
The offense is too good. They never set up a field goals.
If you were going to ask me for my prediction, my prediction is this: Austin Seibert will make a field goal today.
You know, Colin, something that Curtis Bolton said on Tuesday.
I was going to ask you if you want to say that.
He said, you know, usually high school guys come into college and they don't want to play special teams. They want to be, you know, on the offense, on the defense. But he said the guys right now on special teams, they are dying to get out there. They just want to contribute any way that they can. They want to block those punts. They're really, really excited to play, which is something you want to see from a team that's hungry for a championship.
Yeah, and they understand the advantage it gives.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, the offense was not off to a hot start against UCLA. And then the next thing you know, Trey Brown, boom, all the way down, close to the 10, 15.
Yeah. Changed the momentum of that game.
Yeah, the thing that Curtis Bolton said, when's the last time you saw a team make a big special teams play like a punt block or something, and the team lost? You'd be surprised.
It could be a make or break for
And that's something that Alabama has prided themselves on.
Yep.
All these championships, their special teams has always been great. So shifting gears a little bit, in the first show, we talked about sleeper teams. Sam's, who's not on the set right now, picked K-State. They almost lost South Dakota that day. I don't want to let him forget that.
Roasting Sammy's not even here.
He's around. He's right over there somewhere. We'll talk about sleeper players in the Big 12. What are some players in the Big 12 that have not gotten the love that they should so far? Lauren, we'll start with you.
All right, let's start with me. Okay, so I'm going with the Texas Longhorn.
What?
Gross.
I know. It's really hard for me. I'm not going to lie.
I think we actually lost a bunch of viewers. Like
I
right
know, we
now.
probably did. I'm going with Colin Johnson, wide receiver.
Hey!
I know, Colin. I know,
Great
we've already
first name.
decided that Colin, you know, married our friend Tori Johnson.
Oh, God.
It would take his name.
What?
We've gone down a
Take
rabbit
her
hole.
name, excuse me. But this kid is not only ridiculous when it comes to catches and yards, but he is resilient against secondaries. I mean, he doesn't give it up. It takes at least 5 or 6 guys to get him down, and so I think that's a big thing for him. They're playing USC obviously today.
Big game.
Big game. Last year he had 7 catches for 191 yards. Okay, that was the 4th most in school history. I think that no one pays attention much to Texas right now, especially because, you know, this whole is Texas back, is Texas not back. But I don't think that you can.
So far, no.
They're not. But I don't think that you can look at him as a part right now. I mean, this kid had offers from Alabama, from TCU, from Penn State. He followed after his dad, who went to went to Texas. Was a first-round draft pick his year. And so I think the big thing with him is people ignore him because he is playing for Texas. And so that's why I bring up the fact that, you know, I'm sorry that it's a guy from Longhorn, but I don't think you can ignore this kid. He's ridiculous.
He's 6'6", 200+ pounder, and mentioned as a first-round potential draft guy. I mean, great point, Colin Johnson, especially with that awesome first name.
I was going to say, you get to the name.
I think the handsome factors in there, so
Colin?
we'll see what happens. But yeah, great pick there. I like it.
My pick is a defensive guy on a team that's not really going to have that good of a defense.
This one was weird.
Probably this year. I'm going with Tony Jones. He's a linebacker for Texas Tech.
Who?
Yeah, probably the worst, historically the worst defensive school ever.
But he's a bright spot. He's a bright spot on their team. He's a JUCO guy. He was on the defensive line last year. I'll read some of his numbers for you. He had 21 solo tackles, 32 total, 6.5 for a loss, 4 sacks, an interception. Already this year, as he's moved to linebacker, 6 solo tackles, 13 total ones, 4 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. He leads the Big 12 in tackles for a loss, and he's number 2 in sacks right now. Obviously, it's early. And like I just said, I mean, Texas Tech, historically not a great defense, but hey, they shut out Lamar last week and put up 77 points.
Lamar.
That.
Yeah, the key word part of that was Lamar. Odom?
Okay.
But I mean,
Jackson?
watching this guy's highlights, I mean, he's kind of all over the place. I think he could be a player for the NFL. I really do. I think because he has another year to play.
Yeah.
And so I think he'll be one of the leaders of this defense this year, and especially next year. I think he could be.
Well, if he shocks us and goes to pros, you can say
That was a take right there.
Yeah.
It's a little toasty right now.
But I agree
Well,
with
I saw
Madeline.
highlights,
It's hard to look at Texas Tech and say, well, they're a bad defensive team, but what if they have one good defensive player? You
Right.
can't.
They got a couple guys,
cancel
and
him out.
Tony Jones was one of them.
Cliff Kingsbury doesn't know what defense is.
I mean, I like Dakota Allen, I like Deshaun
Madeline just has a
Johnson,
crush
but
on
I don't know.
Cliff.
I mean, Tony Jones, as soon as I saw Madeline's little thing in the production, I was like, what?
He's
Of
a
all the
sleeper.
players?
He's a sleeper, but he's good.
That's the whole point of this sleeper.
Yeah, I'm going to stay asleep.
Deep sleeper.
I'm going to stay asleep, but I'm going to wake up for Tylan Wallace from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This dude is
the other
good.
orange.
Now, here's the thing. Yeah, we're going to talk about the other burnt orange, but then again, Oklahoma State doesn't really matter. I mean, they're not very good right now.
Lots of things aren't very good.
Cornelius thing. but Tylan Wallace has made Cornelius look so much better than he actually is. 10 catches, 166 yards, touchdown catch. But what I really liked when I was watching that game, he impacted the game in where Laundry was all over the football field. People were throwing flags left and right because the dude across from Tylan Wallace couldn't cover him.
Yeah.
And that results in plenty of positive penalty yards, and that's putting your offense in a great position to succeed. Tylan Wallace is great at catching the football, making sure he has it possessed, and then trying to make something happen. And I think a lot of collegiate receivers do the opposite. They try and make something happen before the ball is in their hands. Tylan Wallace, sure-handed receiver. He makes cornerbacks look really bad, and he's putting his offense in great success because he's not only catching the football, but he's making cornerbacks look really bad, and he's giving them penalty yards as a result. I really like what Tylan Wallace is bringing to the table. I have another one, Tyron Johnson in that receiving core too. People don't talk about them enough, but man, Oklahoma State has plenty of receivers.
How many
and Tylan
games do
Wallace
they
is
win
one of
this
them.
year, you think?
Oh man, I had them pegged at like 6 in the Big 12.
They're ranked right now.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a scary thing.
here's the thing.
Ranked matchup.
They could rattle off 7 to 8 straight wins and go 8-0, 7-0. So that's what's tough right now about Oklahoma State. But Boise State today,
Yeah, big
that's tough.
Their key is their wide receiving core.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially with Taylor Cornelius and a quarterback doesn't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
They're the key to
Yeah,
them being
Taylor
good.
Cornelius, he can't throw the ball more than like 15 yards. So I don't know.
He's
It's
gonna
kind
have
of
to
neutralized a little bit. My guy, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurd
I like
at,
this a
at
lot.
Baylor. You've mentioned him before.
I like him a lot.
You know, I feel like a lot of people don't even like totally know he's at Baylor.
No.
He was running back at Tennessee a couple years ago. If you remember, he beat up OU pretty good whenever
Yeah,
he went
he
to
did.
Knoxville. He had a big game.
was a good
So he
game.
transfers from Tennessee to Baylor, which is the opposite of everybody else does. Everybody
Yeah.
transfers from
From
Baylor
Baylor,
to
for
a
real.
bigger school. He went the other way with it. He went from Tennessee to Baylor, switched positions from running back to receiver.
Correct.
So far this year, 12 catches, 194 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
In the top 40 in the country in yards receiving, which is,
Pretty
you know,
good.
not too bad. He's kind of a guy who, you know, they have Denzel Mims, who's the #1 guy.
Really good.
You know, whenever you play Baylor, whenever OU plays Baylor or whoever it may be, maybe you're kind of looking at Denzel Mims. Jalen Hurd he can hurt you. He can make some big plays. He's kind of a guy I'm watching out for a little bit.
I like
going
him
forward.
a lot too because he's got this 6'4" stature, and I think he's around 220 pounds or so because he played running back, and then he has that ability to not only catch the football but make something happen because of that running back experience. Great pick by you, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
We're all about positivity today. We're having fun out here in Ames.
And Baylor's a school that I think is kind of going the right direction. They got a good coach, Matt Rule. Baylor will turn themselves around a lot faster than I thought they would.
You can have
That's a
success
close
with a
game
Lake
last
Travis
year.
quarterback, right,
Yeah,
Charlie? I don't
we've
know.
seen it in Norman.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for us for now. We'll be back later on. That's it for Lauren, too. Thank you so much, Lauren, for coming with us to Iowa
thanks for
State.
having me.
Hey,
Really
thanks,
cool
Lauren.
having you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll let the studio team handle it for a little bit. We'll be back later for call outs and all that fun stuff. And Sam will be back later, sorry. No problem, Sam. Back to the studio team. We'll be back here in a little bit.
Welcome back to Game Day U. I'm William Soule, and before we get back to our content for today, it's time for this week's NFL Sooner Standout. This week, that player is former Sooner running back Joe Mixon. After a strong career at the University of Oklahoma from 2014 to 2016, Mixon decided to forego his senior season and enter the NFL Draft. The Cincinnati Bengals made him the 48th overall draft pick in 2017, and clearly that selection is paying dividends. This past Sunday, Mixon rushed for 95 yards and a score and on 17 carries and added 5 catches for another 54 yards. Mixon's solid performance helped the Bengals to a 34-23 win over the Colts and earned him the nod on this week's version of NFL Sooner Standout on GamedayU. And going from that amount of talent, guys, to talent still in college, we're going to Heisman Watch. Christian, what you got?
I hate to say the hometown favorite, of course, but I'm going to have to go with Kyler Murray.
Who? And the ratings just went way back up right here.
We got him back.
Yeah.
They got on the A's?
Yeah, no,
No.
not yet. Give it some time.
Soon.
Number
you
one
don't
for QB1 over Gaylord Stadium, Kyler Murray. He's looking amazing. He's looking like the best player in college football to me. He's able to fit passes in tight windows. He's able to make plays with his feet. As of now, I don't see a player in college football right now that's as big of a game changer as he is. He elevates Oklahoma's play so much. He's able to stretch out the defense. If there's man coverage, he's able to tuck it and run. And I feel like a lot of the times in the Heisman race, it's the most polarizing player in the league. And right now, Kyler's it. He's fresh off a MLB contract. I feel like everyone's eyes on him, and I'm excited to see what he does this week 2, or week 4.
I love how confident he's looked. Like whenever you watch him, he just kind of like just drips confidence, you know? Like he's not a very loud person. He doesn't express the way he feels about things through his words, but whenever you watch him on the field,
he's got
like,
that swagger.
He knows exactly what he's about to do, and like he knows how he can stretch the field.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, it was the exact same way in high school at Allen. He was undefeated through high school, won 3 state championships, and at Texas, that's not as easily.
He'd be good at. I think he'd be good at literally any sport.
Yeah.
Any sport.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him.
Can't see me at ping pong though.
He had big shoes to fill, and I think he's done a really nice job. I think that he came in with a lot of pressure, and he said, "No, I'm a 5-star recruit."
Yeah.
And I think he's doing really well. I'm excited to see what more we get from him this season.
Yeah,
And
it's the Heisman, I'm telling you.
And Spencer, you kind of brought it up. Like he is different than Baker, but they have the same level of swagger.
Yes.
Like he's not going to be loud and in your face the way Baker was and the way we all came to grow and love. Some of us more than others, but he oozes confidence. It's something that you wouldn't have thought for someone replacing a Heisman.
That's what you need in a quarterback.
Exactly, and I think that makes the entire team play even better, knowing that they can go out and trust him.
You know what else you need at quarterback? Brett Rippon. That's my Heisman watch.
Wow.
Hot take here. Who is that?
He's a quarterback at Boise State. He has been their quarterback for 4 years now. He's played the majority of his career, even as a freshman. He played 11 games that season. I think he's underrated, first of all. I'm down for a good underdog. I mean, those throws, he has a great arm on him. He rockets it down the field. Touchdown pass. Look at that. I mean, touchdown pass right there. But the biggest thing about his pass game is his ability to throw so accurately when his receiver has a man on him. You see these like catches.
Tight window throws. They get me going.
Exactly. They go down and you've got everybody staring like, what's happening? Did he get it or not? And then the arms go up and everyone goes crazy. Yeah. So I think that he is really a guy to watch out for. I think it's more exciting having kind of that guy kind of work his way up the ranks, which I think is what we will see. He's averaging 11.9 yards per play right now, which
it's a first down per play.
Exactly.
That's pretty good.
That's what we need. I mean, just this last game, he completed 21 out of 28 attempts. So he's making stuff happen. I think that he's really reliable. He's very consistent. And to top that off, we talked about the offensive line earlier today. Boise State's got an offensive line. They really give him the time to drop back in the pocket, scan, find the guy that he wants, and go for it. Whether or not that guy's open or not, it doesn't matter because he's going to be an accurate throw.
Yeah, he's going to fit it in that tight window,
Yeah, and they get to be a top 25 matchup tonight, so he gets to be in the spotlight a little bit more.
Yes.
And if he has a good game, he's just going to keep climbing that ladder.
I'm excited
Pretty soon,
for it.
Shiloh's pick's going to be sitting right there if he keeps playing this way.
I'm excited.
He's got, what, 7 touchdowns on the season? I can see it.
And what I also really like about him, fun fact about Rippon, is that he's actually a golfer. And I think that patience really shows at quarterback.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's been a while
I'm a fan. I can't help it.
It's been a while since we've seen Boise State be good and competitive, and obviously a lot of OU fans will have nightmares about Boise State.
Statue of Liberty.
They can kind of make it up tonight with a victory over another rival of ours. Spencer?
I'm going to keep it with the throwers, the quarterbacks.
You do like the slingers. You've mentioned that a few times.
My guy is actually dude that's going to be in the spotlight probably every week, not just because of how talented he is, but because the media loves making it seem like there's another quarterback on this team that's even anywhere close to as good as he is. Tua Tagovailoa, we've said his name a lot. Everyone's saying his name a lot, even though it's really hard to say.
Who? Pronunciation.
Tua Tagovailoa. You want to say it like a million times fast? Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, I can do it as many times as you need.
You got it down. I respect that.
He has like a 71% completion percentage right now, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, perfect passer rating, 98.5 QBR. Those are some pretty good numbers. I don't know what you guys think about those. And he's on the #1 ranked team in the entire nation. So I'm leaning Tua right now. I'm going to keep riding the Tua train for as long as I can. I think that this man is amazing. He's added an element to this Alabama offense that we have not seen in a long time. We have not seen a thrower in Alabama for a while. I mean, McElroy.
Maybe.
Hurts. McCarron. This dude can stretch the field, and he makes some of these plays, and he's a lefty, so it just looks... It
looks cooler.
To me. Yeah. It's like, wow, that's weird. Michael Vick out there.
Yeah.
No,
that's southpaw.
Yeah, I think Tua is fantastic. I hope they don't even give Jalen Hurts any playing time the rest of the year because I think if they let him in, best player on the best team, that just spells Heisman.
I mean, it's hard to argue in favor of Jalen Hurts if you look at the numbers of the 2 games. They gave him plenty of opportunity, and he has just been what he is. He was flat last year.
A running back that gets to throw occasionally. Yeah.
I mean, he took him to, 2 national championships?
That defense did.
All right, still, but he's leading the team. It's hard to just try and drop him off. You know what I'm saying? He still can lead a team.
Yeah, morally it's tough, but you make the business decision. You put the good quarterback in.
I gotta agree with you on that one. It is.
Jalen Hurts maybe transfers to Georgia Tech. He's got a real good future.
I've been saying that. That's where I
triple
want to
option
see him
offense.
at.
And I mean, real quick though, we've talked a lot about quarterbacks. You got to look at Jonathan Taylor every once in a while. Running backs are real important. But we're going to segue here now into the topic that I think most people is on everybody's minds. Can anybody beat Alabama?
Yes, people can beat Alabama.
Why?
Some teams can, but not many teams are ever going to get the chance to. Obviously, Alabama's never going to schedule anybody in their non-con. That's very tough. They had USC and worked them, so they figured that all out. They're not going to play anybody that crazy in their non-conference schedule because the SEC is tougher. They have tougher defenses. Personally, I don't think so, but everyone loves to say how tough the SEC is. So they don't really do much work because they already have the resume. They're going to be sitting in the top 5 at the beginning of every year anyway. They don't have that far to move up, if any at all. They're already at number 1. But I think that some teams that could do it, Georgia, Clemson, and OU, all the teams that were in the Final Four last year, personally, I always figured that if OU got past Georgia, they had the offense to do it. I think that they could have beat Alabama at right there, national title last year. And Georgia has the actual talent to do it. Their recruiting classes match up very, very well. They can put the players on the field to actually just outright beat them, I think. Jake Fromm's great. Clemson knows how to play against them, played them in a lot of national championships already, like just a couple years ago. They actually beat them once, and so they know how to get it done. And then OU has the offensive firepower and the weapons to spread around the field to actually do it as well. The defense obviously still has some question marks. We're waiting to see how good they're going to be. But as far as putting players on the field to get it done, I think that OU, Georgia, and Clemson can do it.
I agree. I think that there are a few teams that have the ability to do it. And I also agree that with Alabama's resume, it's hard. However, I think right now, Clemson, I need something from their defense.
Yeah.
You got to win my heart back. But I think Georgia. And I think Georgia because of their special teams. I think that what really differentiates a national championship team is being able to get points on all sides of that ball. And Georgia's return game is sick. Yeah. So I think that their ability to really use that specialty could really push them far and beyond. I agree. I think OU has that. You know, we saw great special team action happening a couple weeks ago. And then last week, for me, I talked about earlier how I thought the offense was a little bit off. However, I'm a Kyler Murray believer. I think that they can get it back together. I think it happens. You have someone like Rodney Anderson come out. You've got a decently new quarterback. I mean, we had Baker all last season. So I think that as games progress, I think that OU and Georgia will probably be the number 2 teams like knocking on Alabama's door.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's Alabama, so you know they're always going to be in the conversation for the Final Four.
And they win the big games.
They do win the big games.
They win them. They just do not stop winning.
Yeah, no, they've got great coaching. They seem so composed in the big moment all the time. But I think there's a chance they go down somewhere in the regular season. They've got what? Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State,
Ole Miss this weekend.
Mississippi State, I like that game.
We talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this over the break. Ole Miss this weekend is not an easy test. Their quarterback, Tam, has been really well. I'm trying to remember his statistics. I think he's got 7 touchdowns. Each of his receivers have over 100 yards, over a touchdown. One of them's got 28 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I mean, that's where you're going to beat Bama too, is in that second level, because your secondary is. That's their weakest point on defense, so that's where you're going to be able to get them with those tall receivers.
Yeah, no, you're not beating them between the tackles. And in those rivalry games, we see it all the time with OU, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State. They play Auburn, Alabama. That's going to be a toss-up. Iron Bowl is always a great game. You really never tell, like, going into the game who's going to win unless one of the teams got a huge discrepancy between the other. But I think Auburn's good. They're great. Jared Stidham's looked good these past few weeks. LSU is going to give them a run for their money. Mississippi State
did it last year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think there's a chance they don't make it out the regular season in the top 4 rankings.
I mean, we'll have to see. It's the great part about college football. No one knows for sure.
I'm excited to watch.
We're going to throw it back out to the remote team guys in Ames for their call-outs. We'll see you soon. Stay with us.
And we are back, still at Jack Trice Stadium. We didn't leave again.
Wow.
Crazy how that works.
It's wild.
It's funny.
We did not pick up the desk and move it.
Studio team doing a nice job. They'll be back later to close out the show, but for now, we're going to do the favorite part, most fun part for most of us. Call out, score predictions, something else I'm not forgetting. Oh, words, that's what it is. We'll start out with, did we start with word? Start with word. Sam, I don't host, it's Joe's job usually. We'll start with word. Sam, what's your word,
just
bud?
getting warmed up. My final word's personal. Now, whenever we talk about football games, you always hear, oh, this is just another game. It's just business as usual. This is not business as usual. I'll go ahead and throw this out there. Last year, that Iowa State team had no reason to come into Gaylord Memorial Stadium and beat Baker Mayfield and the Sooners. No reason at all. It was pathetic. One of the worst performances I've seen as an OU supporter.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's true. It happened. I mean, come on. How do you lose to a team like that, to a third-string quarterback at the time? Keep in mind, at the time, we had Joel Lanning, and then we had, what's his face, right behind him.
What was that guy's name?
It was Zeb Nolan. I think Zeb Nolan was behind him, wasn't he?
No, it was number 10. I can't remember his name off the top, but I'm sure it'll come to me.
This is a real good moment for the set right now.
I didn't do my research, but Kyle Kemp was the third-string quarterback.
He was third-string guy. We do know that. I remember
quarterback. This team needs to take this personally, and they need to blow Iowa State out. I'll go ahead and say that right away. They should want to, and I think they will, honestly.
Last week, everyone was making fun of me for picking a big word, so I toned it down a little bit. My word is infiltrate.
Infiltrate.
Okay?
Can we get
This team all week has said how much they love playing on the road. And I want them to come in here and just infiltrate this stadium. Infiltrate every aspect of the game. Get a big win.
Like all 61,000
Infiltrate
people?
like a Dementor on Harry Potter.
I can't remember.
Just a little less creepy, maybe.
I can't remember the last time I heard the word infiltrate used. So many.
I use it every day at least.
It's been said to me times. It's lost its meaning now.
I'm going to infiltrate this building so hard.
In our casual conversation, when's the last time you said the word infiltrate?
Probably yesterday.
We're about to infiltrate Chick-fil-A. We're going to get some nuggets.
I was just about to say, we're going to infiltrate the heck out of this food.
I got to infiltrate the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, boy.
That took it too far.
Took a turn. All right, call on your word.
I'm going to apply this word not only to this team, but also to the set because we're crossing some boundaries right now. Aaron Rodgers said it best, R-E-L-A-X, relax.
I thought you were going to say R-E-S-P-E-C-T for a minute.
Aretha Franklin, R.I.P.
That's Aretha, not...
Relax.
Not Aaron.
R.I.P.
All right, listen.
Aretha.
A lot is being made about this game for, to me, unnecessary reasons. Iowa State doesn't stand a chance. They can't hold a candle to Oklahoma. But I think that we're all touching on the fact that Oklahoma will try and come in here with a chip on their shoulder and make this thing personal, like Sam said. The thing is, if you go a little too personal, you cross boundaries, as we've learned on this set today. Just relax. Now, go out there, and I'm not saying you can't play hard. Play hard, play physical, play fast, play with some emotion, but don't take it too far. Make sure you're relaxed, you're focused. This is the first away game of the season for the Sooners, a hostile environment. Don't let things get to you so quickly. Just relax, play your game plan. Things will play out. You'll get the victory if you're the Sooners.
Take it personally, but play smart.
Thanks, Sam.
That goes into my word, because you mentioned my word, actually. Emotion. That's my word, because, you know, there's a lot of things going on here. They want, whether they say they don't or not, they probably want to beat Iowa State by about 1,000. It's probably like they probably want to just destroy them, honestly. And, you know, the emotion of the first road game, you know, Kyler's never played a road game in the Big 12. A lot of these guys haven't, you know, had big road games here in a while. You know, when you're on the road, you have to control your emotions, stay within yourself. Don't be getting like personal fouls. Don't be getting targetings, that kind of nonsense. Keep it. Just chill out. Yeah. You know, I'm sure Kyler, I thought he had butterflies the first game. He didn't. So I don't know why I'm saying this again. But he might have butterflies. You know, come out, control the emotion, and just settle in. You're so much better.
This side of the table is very similar. That side of the table is very similar right now as far as final word goes. I think that's pretty funny.
There we go, Sam.
settle
This is the better
down.
team.
Way better. You should win
Sure,
by
sure
a
you
lot.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
just relax and do your thing.
Hey, relax.
We're all vibing right now.
We're on the same page. I like this side.
All right.
Strong side, right side.
Call outs. This is fun. My favorite part is call out, I think, because I like to just go off on somebody. I'm going to go off on somebody in a little bit. Sam, call out.
My call out's the guy that a lot of people are wanting to step up, and we've talked about him a lot in this show. That's Trey Sermon. It's plain and simple. Rodney Anderson, you
pressure on
quoted Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to quote Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
Rodney Anderson is a bad man. We saw what he can do against TCU last year. We saw what he can do against Georgia. And now
Baylor,
he's
too,
gone.
yeah.
Now he's gone for the season. And Trey Sermon's a guy we saw a lot of potential out of before the Texas game, before Rodney Anderson started to find his groove. He's got potential. He's a good back. But we haven't seen much of that this year. I want to see that on Saturday. Today, Trey Sermon needs a big game today.
I agree. I mean, it's interesting, too. I mean, Kansas State, as far as we're talking about Rodney Anderson performances, Rodney Anderson basically won Oklahoma that football game.
He bailed him out. They should have lost.
I've mentioned it a lot now. If you're in a situation like that and you don't have a Rodney Anderson, do you win a game like that? I don't think so, but it'll be up to Mr. Trey Sermon to get it done.
Trey Sermon won Baylor for OU.
Yeah, basically.
He was the closer.
If you had asked me, around like middle of the season last year, who the best running back on the team was, I might have said
Trey Sermon.
I don't know,
up
maybe.
until Texas, I thought
it seemed
he was the
like
guy.
he, especially after like Ohio State, which was only that second game, but like it really seemed like he'd established himself as like the starter going forward. Rodney just completely ran away with the job eventually. But I mean, Sermon has shown that he can be really good.
Sermon's a stud, and I bet you didn't know this, but according to some sources, he finished as the Big 12's leader in yards after contact.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that on either last week or week before.
Yeah,
so.
I got to do a little research about Mr. Trey Sermon.
That's crazy.
Isn't that awesome?
And he's way bigger and stronger this year than he was last year.
Man, he's built like a brick house, dude.
He's huge.
We got to see what he's doing.
House.
All right, for my call out, as you said earlier, Colin, Iowa State doesn't stand a chance. Let's be real. This is a glorified.
We're jinxing this game like really hard.
I said this last week.
I don't even think it's not even jinxable. This is a glorified scrimmage. Let's play around with some things. I'm going to call out the special teams here. I want to see something interesting today. I want to see something interesting from you guys today against an Iowa State team that does not stand a chance. Let's have some fun. Let's play around a little bit. Lincoln, do something cool. Special teams.
Let's see an Austin Seibert field goal. Why not?
After a Shane Beamer call out, suddenly
crazy.
everyone's thinking that they can call out the special teams. Funny how that works out, everybody.
No.
All right, we talked about how my word is law after 2 call outs, and I don't really know how I'll be able to prove this one. But so far I'm 2 for 2, so I'm going to go 3 for 3. And this guy has a lot riding on his shoulders, Mr. Creed Humphrey.
All right.
Okay.
The center position. I like these sneaky call-outs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Shane Beamer, what are you doing, Colin? Mark Jackson, I mean, what? And then we're going to go with Creed Humphrey, the big center. But let me explain why. Look, the center position for Oklahoma still has yet to be settled, right? Alvarez started week 1. Humphrey got the start week 2, his first start in his career. Played pretty well, but then, of course, Beatonbow talked about it. He had some difficult moments handling the calls at the line and things like that. And I think a lot is riding on Creed Humphrey in this away game setting, a hostile environment, to communicate, be effective, be strong, and be a leader as a young redshirt freshman on the front of the line.
Yeah.
I think he's the best single blocker on this football team. One-on-one, he's so strong and so athletic, you can't beat him. No nose guard's gonna be able to match up with Creed Humphrey and win. It's all on Creed to get into his mindset and start becoming that potential of player I think everyone knows that he can be. This is a great step moving forward in this stage against Iowa State on the road. Creed Humphrey, I need to see what he's bringing to the table. Can he lock down the center position?
For me, I'm looking at Grant Calcaterra.
Oh,
and
there it is.
I'm going to preface everything I say by that. I like Grant. I like you. I thought you were gonna have a good year.
I like how
oh my God, do something. I can't believe how worthless you have been. You're supposed to be Mark Andrews' replacement. You've done nothing. 4 catches for 29 yards. That is like, I could do that. Like literally. I can't even fathom how much of a non-factor Grant Calcaterra's been. You're going to sit up there on the Monday presser and be like, yeah, I'm ready to play UCLA. None of those guys recruited me. And then you go do nothing. Come on. He has been so disappointing. It's only been 2 games, but for the sweet love of God, do something, get a touchdown, just make a play. He's done nothing. He could not even be on the team so far.
You need some ice or anything? You need to cool down?
I'm fired up about. I like Grant Calcaterra. I want him to do well. I like him. If you'd asked for the season, like rank your favorite players, he would have been on there somewhere. But man,
if you'll remember though, Mark Andrews
something.
had some really disappointing games and even a really disappointing season before he came out and did well, and now he's tearing up in the NFL a little bit. So I mean, I think we should give Grant. I think we should give Grant some time.
I mean, Mark Andrews did take some time, but then
he also won the Mackey last
and then he won the Mackey Award.
He won
But that was,
Oklahoma's first Mackey ever.
But that was a year after a really rough year where he dropped a lot of balls.
Yeah.
He dropped a lot.
But like Calcaterra's not even getting open. It's like this is served up on a silver platter for Grant Calcaterra to be phenomenal. He's got a Heisman level quarterback, Marquise Brown and CeeDee Lamb's the best receiver duo maybe in the country. The running game is obviously not as good as it was with Rodney, but he had Rodney the last 2 weeks. Where was he at then? The running game is really good. Defense is playing good. Bro,
I also
do something.
I will counter because I agree he does need to step up. But from what I've seen from this offense the last couple games, they haven't really created a lot of opportunities. Mark Andrews was a great down the field receiver. I haven't really seen Grant Calcaterra go downfield. I don't know whether that's because the coaching staff wants CD and Marquise to dominate the outsides, but you don't really see him making kind of seam routes right up the gut like we saw Mark Andrews, and I think we need to see more of that, kind of stretch the middle a little bit.
I mean, I think Beamer gets forgotten as also the tight ends and H-back coach, and he mentioned it after the first game against FAU that, well, Grant wasn't necessarily open in that game, and I did anticipate them making some adjustments, but as you mentioned, nothing happened.
He has 4 total catches for 29 yards.
So at what point do they try and capitalize on Grant? You'd think it'd be today, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to see.
All right, let's go ahead and go to some scores. These are going to be ugly. Let's start with Sam. Who can get the ugliest on their score prediction?
I don't think it'll be me, but I do think this team has had this game penciled in ever since the
I don't believe. I think they're gonna. They want to win this.
They want to come in here, make this a quick one. Just get out of Iowa. 47-17 for me, Oklahoma. This offense gets off to a quick start. I think Trey Sermon has a nice game. I think we'll see a Calcaterra have a couple nice plays here and there. One of the 2 wide receivers is going to have a big game. We don't even know which one yet, but we will find out because it's hard to stop both of them. And I think the defense, again, steps up. I don't think Kyle Kemp plays. I think towards the end you'll see a couple garbage time points for Iowa State, but I think this is easy business for the Sooners.
I agree, Sam. I'm going to say 42-13 Sooners. I want them to have fun with this one. Like I said earlier, glorified scrimmage. I think they should go out there and have some fun, try some things. Hot take of the game, Kyler Murray will have at least 1 rushing touchdown. He'll throw for 1 million touchdowns at least.
Oh.
He'll also have a receiving touchdown.
So he's
only gave him 42 points.
So
he's going to score all the touchdowns.
Carry the 4? No, it doesn't add up. Yeah, I don't.
He will have a receiving
Who's going to throw it to him?
Austin Kendall. I think he's good to go. I think he'll have time.
Man, they're coming. Breaking news.
I want them to mix it up.
Austin Kendall might not even play.
I'm not gonna lie, you caught me off guard there.
Yeah, I don't know about the Austin Kendall
Kyler. I want a Murray.
CeeDee Lamb would be the one that throws to him.
Okay.
Maybe CD, yeah.
Remember the Rose Bowl? All right.
Hey, I remember that. That was pretty. That was pretty interesting. Okay. 49-10. I mean,
there you go. I feel like that's the ugliest one.
Okay.
So far.
That's pretty much what I have.
If Zeb's in there, it's a beatdown. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. And I'm glad the Iowa State fans got up early because they're going to get to go home early and take a nap. They won't miss much in the rest of the second half because I think the Sooners are going to come out hot, ready to go. Again, you have to relax, play in your own self, but 49-10, I think the Sooners dominate. This one's not fun.
See, as I said earlier, I think Iowa State's better than they get credit for. And I think when Kyle Kemp is the quarterback, they're actually decent.
I think a lot of this hinges on if Zeb.
So, my score prediction was 52-24, assuming Kyle Kemp plays. But if Kyle Kemp does not play, I'm probably going to change it to 52. I would go 52-10. And maybe not even 10. I don't know how they even get 10 if Zeb is the quarterback.
I mean, they scored 3.
David Montgomery's a guy to watch for. I mean, the guy can play.
If it happens, it would be garbage time. All the starters are out, kind of a deal. But I'll go 52-10, assuming Kyle Kemp does not play, which he does look like he's going to. Maybe he will. I don't know. Just stay plugged into Twitter.
Still wait and see. Yeah, there's still
it's hard to tell right now. So that's what I'm thinking there.
I don't know, man. But hey, I want to give out some props. Man, Kenneth Murray, we know that I'm a big Kenneth Murray vocalist. Dude went off.
Had a lot better week, too.
Dude went off.
game.
And he's going to be a key factor in this game today.
That whole linebacker group looks really good.
Yeah,
And
Curtis Bolton has been
They're
so
gonna look
good.
even
Yeah,
better
Curtis
today.
Bolton. Literally, we hardly even saw Caleb Kelly because Curtis Bolton was just so good after getting the touchdown off the block punt 2 weeks ago, and then last week with a bunch more tackles. This defense, those linebackers combined for 27 tackles, about 8 tackles for loss, and a couple sacks. They're going to play big.
I like Ryan Jones a lot too.
Yeah.
Man, I like those
As a
linebackers.
fullback.
Man, let's play some football.
I know, it's go
Let's do
time
it.
just about here at Jack Trice Stadium. That is it for us. Studio team's going to close it out. They're going to talk about the big games of the day. Huge day in the Big 12. A reputation-defining day for the Big 12, some big ones. They're going to talk about those, among other big ones. They'll close it out for myself, the 3 over here. That's it from Jack Trice. We'll catch you next week for the home game against Army.
Welcome back to the Game Day U. We have our final segment here, and we are having a great time, guys. We go and we look at our national picks. Guys, we're going to look at some big games throughout the country. Let's start with LSU Auburn.
LSU Auburn's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. Dude,
Game
I'm
of the
ready
week for
for
sure.
that.
Who wants to start? I see
what-
most of y'all just like going at it right now.
Yeah, because I'm excited. I mean, I'm just excited to watch
I think-
Spencer. I'll let you take the floor here.
All right, I'm going to take LSU. This game was nearly impossible for me to pick, but I want LSU to be good. I don't know if I just like the purple and gold.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, Lake Show, baby.
Oh,
I don't know.
my goodness. I knew that was
I
coming.
want LSU to win. I think they're going to win. They seem like they're way more confident than in recent years past. I think Coach O really has a good hold in this team finally. Obviously, he's an interim head coach at heart. He comes in, gets the job done, and they hired him. They wanted him to stay. And I think he's hoping that Joe Burrow's his guy. That graduate transfer. I think they need to protect him very early on in the game. Obviously, you're not going to beat Auburn unless you get some points on the board, and I think get some points on the board early. But I think that the defense is already ready to go. The offense hasn't even had to do much this whole year already. Like, they haven't had to really even show me if they have an offense. So that's obviously a question mark. But I think if that defense plays the way it has been and the offense can just put together a couple scoring drives early on, I think that they're going to be good enough to win that game.
I think, well, actually, before I say what I think, I just want to have a little fun fact.
Okay, we're full of fun facts today.
Right. So
Fun fact every show.
the Tiger rivalry dates back all the way to 1901.
Tiger Square.
Wow.
Yes. And currently LSU is leading that with 29, 22, and 1 tie. So I'm going LSU. I think that their defense is looking really nice, looking really solid.
it's looking
Out
nice.
of the
Nice.
last 11 matchups, they've won 8 of them against Auburn. So I think that is something to kind of be like, oh, that's something.
Note that down.
Especially when those LSU teams were most likely significantly worse than the Auburn
Right.
teams in recent years.
Right. And I think with LSU, you kind of, the problem with LSU is you don't know really what to expect, but I think that can also be their greatest strength. Out of the last 7 touchdowns they made, 6 of those were made by guys who had never made them before. So I think that this is a great game to give these LSU guys an opportunity to have kind of one of those come-outs. And then, I mean, Auburn is a great team, so it's going to be a good game either way, but I'm on your side. I'm hoping LSU kind of pulls this out.
And this is where we go wrong.
I'm gonna have to counter
Here
your guys'
comes Christian.
point, of course. I think you guys. I agree with you guys' point on or Charlotte, your point on the SEC defense. I know I threw quotation marks about the SEC defense being the best, but I mean, it's got that reputation for a reason. Let's
Right.
be honest.
It helps whenever all the offenses are bad.
That's true.
I think Auburn, they've got an element of quarterback with leadership. They've got a good running back, or good committee of running backs. They've got Cam Martin, who led the first game with 100 yards. Javaris Whitlow, the next game, true freshman, 6 foot, 216. He led this past game with 150 yards, 2 touchdowns on 22 carries. And then they had another guy, another true freshman, Sean Shivers, who had what?
Cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little cold. He had another 100 yards to add. So I just think the committee of Auburn will wear out the LSU defense. We've seen that Auburn can play in the big game against Washington. I feel like LSU, we kind of saw it earlier against Miami, but I don't know how much weight that holds because Miami's
I'm excited for this game.
Yeah.
And then another top 25 matchup, the game that we've kind of talked about earlier, Boise State, Oklahoma State, guys. No one really knows what's going on with either of these teams. Like, kind of take me through what you're thinking.
I feel like this is a big test for Oklahoma State and Boise. Like, this is a good test for both teams to see who's real, who's a pretender, who's not. As you said, Brett Ripien, he's been looking good this whole year. He's got 7 touchdowns in the season. I'm just looking forward to the game. I'm trying to see what Oklahoma State brings to the table. I feel like we haven't seen much out of Justice Hill. We've seen the receiver that Colin threw out to us earlier, but I'm kind of looking to see a lot from Oklahoma State. I heard they're striping the stadium, just like that seems like a little brother kind of thing to do.
I want to do it too. Mommy, let me do it.
Yeah, it's kind of what that feels like. Yeah, so they've been, all right, go ahead, stripe the stadium.
But who's gonna win?
I'm about to go with Boise State.
All right.
I think they pull off.
I totally agree. I mean, got my boy on the other side, so gotta
Heisman
be a Boise State. You know, but I think that QB to QB, Boise State blows it out of the water.
Yeah,
definitely.
Taylor Cornelius. I mean,
who?
Yeah, exactly.
Stay
2
home.
years under Rudolph.
Stay at home.
Like, he hasn't had the experience. I mean, he's going up against a 4-year quarterback.
4-year starter.
Right, and so, you know, this last game, Cornelius went 25 for 40. That's painful.
Yeah.
But I think that with the better completion rate, QB to QB, I think Boise State's the offense is just gonna annihilate.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think Ripien's going to rip into him. Ooh, that was pretty cool.
Well done.
Yeah, I just think that out there in Potato Land, they're feeling it. And they're going to come into Stillwater, feel it even harder, kill them. No worries.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw Boise State's going to work them over. I think it's not even going to be close.
By how much?
21 points.
Wow.
In a game that will hopefully be closer for the Big 12 standings, Ohio State TCU in Jerry's World. Spencer, what do you think is going to happen in that?
No. Ohio State plays fine in Jerry's World. They got a quarterback, Haskins, that is way better than JT Barrett. Their team is loaded. Lil Bosa, a monster off the edge. TCU is going to get trounced, and the Big 12's looking bad this week. Bad. I think that they're already a 13-point favorite. Haskins already has 9 passing touchdowns. Granted, they haven't played the best of competition.
Sure.
No. Horned Frogs, going to get buried.
Shallow?
Yeah, TCU, who? I think OSU, it's the better quarterback. And I think despite everything that's kind of gone on with all of them, I think that they've really stayed solid. I mean, you've got 77-31 Oregon State, 53. I mean, these are big numbers that they're putting up.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to keep pushing it. I think that the only team in the Big 12 that could go up against Ohio State is Oklahoma. And so I think TCU is going to have a run for their money. I mean, they like to run the ball. And I think
a running back.
Right.
The quarterback's their leading rusher. They're
right.
The quarterback's a dual threat guy. Keep going.
Ohio State defense, nah. They're gonna shut that down early, and I think it's gonna leave TCU wondering how do we get around this? And I think they're gonna get stumped.
Christian?
Yeah, no, it sucks for TCU to be on the national stage like this because, as you said, I think they're just about to get run through. It's going to be bad. TCU doesn't have much leadership at the quarterback position. Sean Robinson's not too fast. He's fast, but he's not too experienced in the big game. And I think Ohio State's just going to take it to him. Last game for Urban Meyer to be out, so he'll come back next week. And
he served his time.
He's
really learned a lot.
Maybe.
That slap on the wrist.
But real quick, guys, let's go through our upset picks of the week here.
Yeah.
Christian, what do you got for me?
I hate to say it, us going to OU, but I got Texas over USC.
And the ratings just went down again.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, as we talked about earlier, USC didn't really surprise me that much. They didn't convert when they needed to.
They surprised me.
How bad they were. Honestly. But I think Texas is going to take it to them. In Austin, it's going to be a big game.
Shiloh, I know you've got a surprise.
Should have won
Yeah.
last year. Donald made that jump throw. I was like, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
I got a pretty hot take. I'm going Georgia Southern over Clemson, and I know.
What?
Look, I told you
Wow.
I was a little butthurt about Clemson. Maybe it's just me being salty. However, we got a dual quarterback threat here, okay?
Yeah.
Only
got 2 quarterbacks.
look. They only won 2 games last season, but they're 2-0 right now. So it only gets better from here. I think for me, it's a big underdog game. You've got a place kicker that's doing really well. He went 15 for 19. That's something. Look.
15 and 19?
Shaw, if you're right about this, I'll pay your tuition.
Oh,
we got that on. We got that on camera. Okay, they shook hands too.
And another thing, I also think that Georgia Southern is like they are trying to rebuild. They are trying.
From what?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to build off of nothing.
I'm just happy. I would be happy for them if they got this 3rd win, because that means they were getting better, Spencer. So 1 for the little guys. I just look. We got told which games we got to pick from, and this was, I think, just something fun. And I think maybe it'll happen.
Spencer, real quick, what you got for me?
Real quick here, Vanderbilt's beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame played trash last week at home against Ball State. They're still at home this week. Vanderbilt's going to go in, get it done. Kyle Shermer, quarterback for Vanderbilt. Senior leadership, the old men are the wise men. They'll get it done. Vanderbilt over Notre Dame.
And real quick before we run out of time, guys, OU, what are you thinking? Very quickly. OU.
Yeah, I think
That's simple.
I think we trounce them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody got a little bit of love for Iowa State?
No.
No.
No love.
Not even a little bit.
Get out of here.
I mean,
All
I
right.
think they bounce off last
I won't
year's
push you for
revenge loss.
That's true. Well, thank you for joining us here at GamedayU at the University of Oklahoma. We've had a great time. Come see us next week, same time, same place, breaking down this game and next week for Army. Have a good one. Watch the Sooners.
Yeah, nah. I think your pick is just as bold as hers, honestly.
I do too. Look.
Vanderbilt plays D1.
Is Georgia?